Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June 12th meeting of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission. I'd like to call us to order, and we'll start with a couple of housekeeping items. Some of you may have noticed that restrooms are under construction here in City Hall. I believe the ladies' restroom on this floor is still available if you need that. Gentlemen, you'll either need to go up a level or down to the basement to find an operable restroom. If you have a phone, please silence or turn it to off for us. If you're here to speak on an item and are not the applicant, if you can make sure that you fill out one of these forms available outside and then provide them to Elena or Jared down here below. When your item is heard, you'll be called to the podium at the appropriate time. Please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to speak. If you're here to speak on an item with a large group of people, we encourage you to elect a representative to share your group's concerns. In those cases, some additional time will be considered. Where several speakers are being heard on the same item, we ask that you please do your best to limit your comments to concerns and items that we haven't heard yet. We're just trying to limit repetitious comments and keep the meeting moving. Please direct all your comments or questions to us, the commissioners, and if needed, we'll ask for the applicant or city staff to respond to that. Finally, we just want to say we appreciate everyone's presence here today and the time that you took away from your other obligations. And we just ask for your cooperation in upholding the decorum in the meeting, and ask that you especially don't speak from the audience, only from the podium. So, with that, we'll move to the first item, the receipt of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to receive the minutes, make a motion to receive the minutes for May 22nd, 2025.
We have a motion to receive the minutes. It's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes. Oh. And the minutes are received. Next, we have continuance requests, and we'll start with uncontested requests.
Item 33, case SPUD 1713, request to defer to July 24th. Item 34, case PUD 2057, defer to July 24th. Item 35, PUD 2061, defer to July 24th. Item 36, case PC 10976, defer to July 24th. Item 37, case C7719, defer to July 24th. And item 38, case SPUD 1708 has been withdrawn.
I'll just confirm there's no one here to be heard on any of those items. Seeing none, we just need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the continuance request, uncontested request as read.
We have a motion from Commissioner Noble to approve the requests. It's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
And those new requests are approved. Next, we have new requests.
Item 22 is case PUD 2073, request to defer to July 24th. And item 29, case SPUD 1736, defer to July 24th.
Anyone here to be heard on any of those items? All right, seeing none.
Sarah Welch, Planning Department. Right before this meeting occurred, there was a decision to defer item 28, SPUD 1733, to the July 24th meeting.
And this really is being made at my request. The staff report, as you may have noticed, indicates that the SPUD is pretty bare bones. There's just not a lot of information there. I think that the applicant may be a little bit confused about what it is she's really doing here and what she's wanting to do. So I asked if she would be agreeable. She indicated she would be. So we're just going to take the time and sit down with staff and go through it between now and our next meeting.
Okay. Was there anyone to be heard on that item? All right. I think we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the new continuance requests as written, plus item 28, SPUD 1733.
We have a motion to approve the new requests. It's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Aye.
And the new requests are approved. All right. Next, we have, brings us to the public hearings and our consent docket. I do have someone signed up for item number 2, so we will need to pull that from the consent docket and to be heard individually.
So remaining items, item 1, KC 7739, final plat of Amelia's Brasswood, located south of Northwest 150th Street and west of Northwestern Avenue. And item 3, KC 7742, final plat of 35 North, Phase 2, located south of Northwest 192nd Street and east of North May Avenue.
Okay, anyone here to be heard on those items? All right, we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent dockets, item number 1 and number 3.
A motion to approve the consent docket as modified. It's been seconded by Commissioner Newman. Please cast your votes.
Aye.
Can you find that for me? I don't know what number that is.
Mr. Powers?
She got it.
Oh, she's in.
All right, and the consent docket is approved. All right, we'll begin now with our items to be heard individually, and we'll begin with item 2.
Item 2, there we go. Item 2 is case number C7741, final plat of Esperanza Gardens, and this is located north of Northwest 150th Street and west of North May Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mark Zitzow, Johnson & Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Before you is a final plat that conforms to both the preliminary plat that was approved a couple months ago and a PUD that was approved earlier this year. It conforms to all the regulations in the subdivision regulations. There are 5 TEs. We agree with all of them. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. And I'll just add, this was an item that was on the consent docket, meaning that everything was pretty straightforward, and there wasn't going to be much discussion on this item, but we did have someone signed up to speak that said that they had some questions. So Mr. Michael Togue.
Yeah, Michael Tully. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, Michael Tully. I'm a neighbor just to the north of there.
Can I have your address for the record, please?
3136 Via Esperanza, and it's an Edmond address, even though I'm technically in Oklahoma City, 73013.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I had sent in some questions about this project, and I got some of the answers back, so thank you for responding to that. One of the questions I had was relative to garages and/or parking spaces. When I got this PUD document back, it talked about 2 parking spaces. Will there also be garages required? Because it said the parking spaces could be included as part of the garage. My point is, I don't want just 2 parking spaces with no garage. Anybody know?
Is that something staff can answer or the applicant? Okay, I think we'll.
So the way the PUD is written, it says that the 2 required parking spaces can use the garage spaces toward that requirement. In the zoning code, you need 2 garage spaces plus 2 in a driveway. So as of now, the plans are not done on the houses, but it is envisioned that there is a garage with 2 spaces in it that would suffice for the parking requirement.
Would that be a requirement that there would be 2 garage
With no
spaces?
driveway? No driveway?
An 18-foot driveway is what it says in the PUD copy that I have.
Yeah, that's standard.
Right.
About per ordinance.
Yeah, the setback is the same for the garage.
Yeah, okay.
So the homes will be built with 2 garages? 2 spaces, okay.
Yeah. I think-
Well, 2 garage spaces is what I meant. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I mean, I don't think they actually have to be. There has to be 2 spaces available.
I could have a single garage and then,
Yeah, I mean, there's
Parking on the-
multiples, and like I said before, we don't know the design today of what will be built there, but they do have to conform, and this plat does conform to the PUD as written.
Okay. Well, I just don't want to cheapen the houses, so to speak. As you know, that backs up to a pretty nice neighborhood. And it's to be a nice buffer in between the apartments and the neighborhood. But just don't want to make sure that isn't like Section 8 housing in 5 years either. The other question I had, I guess we don't probably know, is what's the price range and the square footage of the homes? We have no idea. So, okay. Will the property for sure be gated and have a HOA?
An HOA is required, and right now, as the plat was submitted, does show private streets with a gate.
Another question I have is on this document that was sent to me and my neighbors, talking about the notice of hearing. If you look at the plat on the back, there's the word apartments on this particular document, backing up to my property. I don't see it on here, but it was sent to me with the word apartments on there. It's on that one too. What's the story with that?
The city sends out that notice. Those are typically land use labels. It could have just been shifted, could have been from a former zoning. This property is not permitted to have any multifamily on it.
Right, and that's what I was thinking. It was probably the original zoning, and so,
It just says final plat application, so I was
Right.
assuming it was that. Will there be 1 or 2 entrances? Because I've seen in the PUD, I've seen this entrance that's described here. I've also seen that cul-de-sac and that pseudo entrance to the west.
I think the western entrance is a temporary entrance that they have to have
For fire protection?
for fire protection to conform.
And is that on the apartment property, or is that on the neighbor's property there, the office property?
The temporary would have to be in an
Yep.
easement.
It's on the office property.
Okay.
There's an access easement there for emergency services.
Okay. And I spoke a little bit earlier with someone about the height of the homes that could be built backing up to the Esperanza neighborhood. When I called the city, I was told that it would be no more than 1 story in tract 1 or 35 feet. And now I'm told it's 2.5 stories permissible.
Yeah, I believe that the 35 feet is 2 stories per the PUD.
So which one do you go by, the 35 feet or the 1 story?
The PUD is per the base zoning, which allows 2.5 stories or 35 feet. So the house plans haven't been designed yet, but that's what we're allowed to build to. I'm not sure who you talked with at the city and at what point, but the PUD that was approved did not have a limitation of 1 story on the height.
I see. Lastly, will these homes be rental units, or will they be single-family homes for sale? We may not know that.
They're platted for individual sale.
Okay. And then I talked to you a little bit right before, but the screening and/or fencing between the apartments and the development?
Yeah, the screening is outlined in the PUD, is a wood fence with brick columns on, off the top of my head, 50-foot centers. Is what
6
is
foot,
required.
8 foot, 10 foot?
It's a 6 to 8 foot fence.
Okay. And the same between my neighborhood and this on the backside?
Yes.
Yes.
Would be the exact same? Okay. And that would be maintained by the homeowner association?
Individual homeowners, I think.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess we may not know this either, about windows. I talked to the guy who sold this dirt to whoever the developer is, and he assured us in the neighborhood that there wouldn't be any north-facing windows in those homes. Again, that's an assurance that the guy who sold the dirt.
I do not recall that to be in the PUD.
Okay.
It is not.
So, okay. Well, I appreciate you answering the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I think we're ready for a motion on that item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve C7741.
A motion to approve the item. we need to do a voice? Okay, I need a second. Seconded by Commissioner Powers. We'll do a roll call for vote. Commissioner Powers? Commissioner Meek? Commissioner Privet? Commissioner Newman? Yes. Commissioner Govine? Aye. Commissioner Harrison? Aye. Commissioner Noble?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
We're waiting.
All right, that item is approved. Before we get to item 4, I have a citizen that signed up to speak, but didn't put an item number down, and the case number, we think is a typo, is Mr. Joshua Waters here. Still here. Mr. Waters, did you sign up to speak for 1736? Item 1736, which is item 29 on the agenda?
No, I'm here for citizens to be heard.
Just overall, no specific item?
There was an item for May 22nd, and I'm here to speak on it.
Okay.
For my family.
Okay, that'll be at the end of the agenda. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't that item to be deferred and you weren't sitting here all day. Item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution of the Planning Commission approving the proposed 2025 general obligation bond program. We have a presentation, which I will go ahead and present. We can pull it up on screen there. So first of all, let's advance to the next slide. Why are we here? There's some ordinance language up there, but in short, the state and city code require the Planning Commission to approve capital projects. Next. So this is just a summary of kind of where we are. Right now, we have a population of almost 750,000. Our metro has been growing significantly. We've got a lot of work to do to keep up with the infrastructure needs. And that's really what the bond is mostly about, is taking care of our basic needs. Managing our capital improvement program is one of the most important functions that we have, and a constant priority in the general obligation fund or bond is the city's main source of revenue for capital projects. So here is the resident survey. You can see that, and this that was done as part of the bond. And you can see that street, bridges, and traffic control are, as always, kind of the top of the list for people, followed closely by parks and rec, sidewalks, trails, and bicycle, et cetera. So that's kind of where we are. Let me back up just briefly before we get into this and just mention that, so by way of introduction, we had a study session which went into this in a fair amount of detail with the Planning Commission recently. This has been a long process, and we have several representatives here today from Public Works, Debbie Miller, Chad Meisenberg, the bond program manager, Aubrey McDermott, I think, is here or is watching. Oh, there she is, right next to Debbie. And both of those individuals have been heavily involved in leading this process from the very beginning. It's been a long road, and I'll go through kind of a little bit of that. I'll go a little bit faster than we did in the study session because we've covered a lot of ground already. So please stop me if you have any questions. I'll go a lot faster. Okay. So public input methods. Next slide, please. So we had several events, including thousands of resident feedback responses through the visionokc.gov and a lot of in-person events. Real quick on the project prioritization. So we can't get everything in the bond, so we have to prioritize. Plan OKC is important. The Vision Zero plan, Bike Walk OKC, the Parks and Recreation plan all provide project selection. So the project selection and criteria represent further development of principles outlined in Plan OKC, such as accommodating new growth while enhancing service efficiency, equity, enhancing quality of life through placemaking, and accommodation of active lifestyles and improving the safety and effectiveness of our multimodal transportation system. That's kind of a high-level overview of prioritization and why it's important. We've got a couple of examples. This is street widenings, methods that each particular infrastructure type has its own prioritization process. And in the case of street widenings, as you would imagine, traffic counts matters a lot, as well as several other items that you can see on the screen there. Next one is an example for parks. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan says a lot about project selection and prioritization. And of course, we're looking at similar things for all of these, including equity and the functional need, the demand that's out there for these facilities. Here's the timeline. Just real quickly, the bottom line is that this goes to council for introduction on Tuesday, approval in mid-July, and the vote would be in October. So we have 547 listed projects, and you can see the comparison there between this time and last time. Our grand total is $2.7 billion, half of which roughly is dedicated to streets and sidewalks, similar to 2017. Next slide. So this slide includes all of the propositions. This has been updated since the study session. You can see the total amounts there for each proposition, including, as I mentioned, the biggest one, $1.35 billion for streets and sidewalks and $91 million for bridges. So we'll go to the next slide. Please stop me, like I said, if there are any questions. Here are the project numbers. Let's go on to streets, the next slide. I'll just kind of go through a series of maps. Of course, the detail, the larger maps are in your packet, and if you're watching this or in the audience, you can see online, you can kind of zoom in and see where these projects are, whether it be this one, resurfacing, or the next one for widening. I can see where those projects are. And you can see the criteria as well on the left there for resurfacing, for example. Traffic counts matter a lot. The PCI, or the Pavement Condition Index, matters a lot. Sidewalks follows closely Bike Walk OKC, as was mentioned earlier. That was used to prioritize these. Most of the pedestrian priority areas, 13 of them, have basically excuse me, an amount of money that will be used to implement Bike Walk OKC. Here are those pedestrian priority areas, and in addition, we'll have school access, transit access, and park access. There are funding amounts dedicated to providing access to, or providing sidewalks to those important needs. Street enhancements, there are several mentioned, are listed, 13. Wanted to mention, this is one change that was made since the study session and actually since the packet was sent out. So there were two major projects downtown that were combined. So that's a change from what's in your packet. But the project details, the funding is all the same. So this is the downtown area that we're talking about. It's actually been adjusted a little bit to follow the eastern boundary to go up Lincoln. So that money, that $49.5 million, would be spent on street enhancements in that downtown area, which is actually over to Lincoln and up to 13th Street. Just real quick on the street enhancements, they're driven by, in some cases, like the Meridian Corridor, some recent planning work that we've done. And also the next slide, Classen, will be informed by some planning work that we will be getting pending the outcome of our federal grant. We'll be starting on that this summer, as we will be getting starting on the downtown strategic plan, which will inform the downtown expenditures. So moving on, we've got several bridges. It's 25. I don't have a slide for economic development, so I'll mention that we have $145 million for economic development and community development, which includes affordable housing. $50 million of that will be dedicated to affordable housing. So we can go to the next slide. We have 25 bridges throughout the city that will be replaced or improved. And of course, that's a safety issue and heavily based on the condition of the bridges themselves. We have 25 traffic intersection improvement projects. You can see the criteria there, of course, heavily based on the need, based on the usage of those and the safety factors that we've considered. Libraries, there are several library improvements, as well as one new library. Parks, that's one minor change. We've combined 2 state fair park projects that were listed in your packet, so that's now one project. The amount stays the same, the intent is the same, just simplifying a little bit. And then we have many drainage projects, which drainage, as you know, comes up quite a bit before this body. There's a substantial amount of money dedicated to drainage projects throughout the city. Transit, police courts, and fire. So there you can see the drainage project map. And I know there are many, many projects that we would like to do, but we just can't. We've spent a lot of work on prioritizing drainage as we have all the others. Transit, there's dedicated funds to some facilities that need to be constructed, and again, one new change that's shown on the slide, a new listed project for the purchase of buses. So the amount is the same. The funds were just taken from the unlisted category and moved to a specific project, just to let people know that we are purchasing additional buses to enhance the fleet and replace the fleet. And I believe fire, not quite, second to last is fire. And these show the criteria. Of course, the main criteria is population growth. I did want to point out, and this is heavily based on a study that was done in 2023. You'll note that there is no new station in the Northwest, but that is because we actually have funding for a new station in the current bond. It wasn't specifically called out in the Northwest, but the fire department is working right now with Public Works to design that. So that'll be on, I believe, oh, I got the notes here. Let me find it. It's on 164th, I believe. So 15300 North Rockwell. So that will be important to that area of the city, which, as we all know, we've been looking at that area for some time with regard to comprehensive plan amendments and new plats and new developments. So we're excited that that will be coming soon in that area. And then moving on to police, this includes also courts, family justice, and emergency management. We've got 4 new projects in that as well. So that is my quick version of the study session presentation with a little more information for you. The dates there are what I mentioned earlier. That's what happens next, June 17th, which is this coming Tuesday, introduction, and then we hope to get it adopted or finalized by council on July 15th in advance of an October vote. So again, a lot of work has gone into this. We're very appreciative of all the collaboration that's gone on with the various departments and Public Works. Pretty sure there's been a fair amount of overtime worked recently on this, and as well as the city manager's office. So with that, we're happy to take any questions. I can, or Aubrey, Debbie, Chad, and also Fire is here as well. So any questions you might have?
Any questions? I was going to thank you for your presentation and the detailed presentation that we got from you and other city staff, other department directors at the study session. There's some really exciting projects in here. I think this is much different than the last bond as far as the kind of projects that were included. So I'm really excited to see this move forward. Any other questions, comments? All right, the action before us today is a resolution approving the proposed 2025 general obligation bond program. Just need a motion.
Are we recommending or are we approving?
It's approving a resolution.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission approving the proposed 2025 general obligation bond program.
I have a motion, Commissioner Noble. It's been seconded by Commissioner Govine. Please cast your votes.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Thank you again, and thank you for everyone's hard work on that. Next, we have item 5.
There we go. Item 5 is a presentation regarding the process for the amendment of existing plats previously filed within counties in Oklahoma City to remove discriminatory language.
Hello, my name's Emma Winiski. I'm in the city manager's office, and I'm also the compliance officer for the Human Rights Commission. This is going to be a super brief, informal presentation about an effort that we are working on and that you'll probably see, hopefully coming up soon. So just wanted to give you all a little bit of background info. Okay, so sort of why this came about. I'm sure it's not surprising that many of you all know about this, but from the early to mid 20th century, a lot of plats included racially restrictive covenants, and so Oklahoma City was no exception to this, and so this sort of excluded certain populations, Black, Jewish, Asian, other marginalized groups from owning or renting property. And so these covenants are not legally enforceable, but they still exist in many plat documents today. And so in April 2024, Governor Stitt signed a bill that would allow municipalities themselves to amend these documents to strike that language and sort of make a statement without requiring individual property owners to do that. And so in response to that, in 2025, the OKC Human Rights Commission passed a resolution in support of this process and offering our support. And then City Council also unanimously passed a resolution in support of this process. So what the process looks like, we are currently figuring that out, thanks to Jared, Sarah, many other folks at the city as well. So council did pass a resolution. The big work right now is identifying the affected plats. So with over 6,000 plats, not all of them have affected language, but we know that the process for looking through each of these, it's like a PDF on the county website. It's very manual and it's very slow. And so we can sort of estimate how many might be impacted based on how many plats were established before the Fair Housing Act of 1968, but obviously not all of those will contain this language. So there's a bit of a manual scrubbing process. So the Human Rights Commission is posed to help sort of organize a volunteer event to really, again, comb through those plats and identify which ones have this language. Then, depending on the quantity, finalizing an implementation plan will be necessary. 20 plats versus 2,000 is a really different sort of process for the city and staff, and we want to be mindful of what that would require of us. And so, according to state law, for each plat, we have to send notification to property owners, every property owner in the plat, 30 days before a planning commission meeting, just letting them know the language, what we propose to do, et cetera. So that's, again, another part of the process. If the plat is in a historic preservation district, then there's an additional step of going to that commission first and to make a recommendation, but then it would come to you all, you would make the recommendation, city council would approve it, and then we would file that amendment with the relevant county. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions right away. Again, we're hoping to do a few plats just to work out the kinks, and then ideally we'll get these on the consent docket for you all so you don't have to talk through each one. But I just want to pause here. Any questions about this process? Cool. Oh, well, any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I'm very proud of the city of Oklahoma City for taking this on. This issue has been something that has raised itself since I started practicing law in 1983. And the answer has always been it's just too huge. A restrictive covenant is considered to be a private contract between the original owner of the property and each and every member of the neighborhood that buys property from them. And so to get everybody to agree was impossible, even when the legislature made it more possible for neighbors to amend their covenants by lowering the percentage of people that were necessary from 100% to whatever it is, 60 or 75 or whatever. It still is just an enormous undertaking. I was contacted several years ago by the young people in my own neighborhood who were like really wanting to take this on, but it's just overwhelming. It would really be the kind of thing that only a government entity could take on. But it's long, long, long overdue. And the fact that it hasn't been enforceable since the 1940s is something that just shows how overdue it is. That's not an answer. So I'm really proud of the city of Oklahoma City for taking this on. And I'd like to volunteer in my own neighborhood. We have that additional HP step, and so I'm very, very pleased that we are taking this on.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you.
Great, thanks so
This was an informational item, so we're not taking any action on it today. But we look
Thanks,
forward
sir.
to hearing about it in the future.
Thank you.
All right, item 6.
This is case V30, application requesting a variance to the subdivision regulations requiring east-west streets to be numbered in the final plat of Lexford Park, Phase 1, located north of Northwest 36th Street and west of Santa Fe Avenue.
Mark Sitzow, Johnson & Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Before you is a plat that was approved last year. If you've been by the site, it's under construction. The marketing team and branding team re-looked at one of the street names, which was 36 Terrace. After a conversation with the fire marshal, it was determined that there would be support for naming that street Lexford Terrace. So we're here asking for that approval today. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Powers, this is your ward.
Yeah, this is not a surprise, really. I'm glad that the city's okay with it. I think it's a good idea. I don't have any issue with it. I haven't heard from anybody else who does, so.
We're just ready for a motion.
If there's not anybody else here who wants to be heard on this item, I'll just go ahead and move approval. Item number 4, no, item number
6.
5, 6, where am I? Yes, item number
we have a-
6, V30. It's an odd number.
We have a motion to approve the variance application from Commissioner Powers. That's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your vote.
Oh, it doesn't have a number on it, that's why.
Aye.
That item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.
Item 7 is case DA 15PH, application for consideration of a lot split or deed approval on property located at 12025 Southwest 104th Street and a variance to the subdivision regulations.
Hi, I'm Jody Norris. I live at 12025 Southwest 104th. We have a 10-acre property, and we're just looking to have it split. We are lacking on the front the 300 feet required. It's 275 is what we have. So that's what I'm here for. We just are kind of looking towards the future. My husband's a 100% disabled veteran. He's going to be 60 next year. We're wanting to be able to put a family member on the back that would be able to help us with the upkeep of the property.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Meek, this is Ward 3.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've looked into this, and it is the variance that would be needed. They are 25 feet short of the required 150. I don't have any issue with this unless any other commissioners have any.
No, I
objections.
think it seems pretty straightforward. We're talking
Okay.
about 25 feet.
Right, and we don't, do we have anyone signed up to speak
I
on this?
do not have anyone signed up to speak.
Okay, with that, first we'll do the variance. I'd like to recommend approval of the variance to section 3.4.4.C.2E.
C.
Or yes, C, thank you.
Another C in there. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Meek to approve the variance. It's been seconded by Commissioner Newman. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, aye.
And variance is approved. Now the item.
Yes, I'd like to recommend to approve DA-15-PH.
All right. Motion to recommend approval from Commissioner Meek, seconded by Commissioner Govine. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, aye.
All right, and that is approved.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck. Item 8.
Item 8 is PUD 1915-SB03, application for a specific plan pursuant to the approval of PUD 1915, located at 13 Northwest 13th Street.
We have an applicant present.
Good afternoon. My name is Omar Corey. I'm representing the applicant. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you or address any concerns.
Okay. Commissioner Govine, this is Ward 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so this is a part of the sort of 13th and Broadway master plan development. It's a specific plan application. It meets the all the guidelines, and I don't have any issue with it. I think it's a good addition to the Midtown downtown community. It's good to have a new. Is this an owner-occupied office building?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? So it's being built by designed and built by Guernsey to house Guernsey's headquarters?
It's designed by Guernsey, built by Vincent.
Oh, yeah, built by Vincent.
Correct.
But it's for the headquarters office for,
Yes, sir.
for Guernsey? Yep, great. Well, I wish you luck. Are there other questions?
I don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Okay, I will move to approve PUD 1915 SP03.
We have a motion to approve the specific plan. And I'll just note for the record that staff's review of the specific plan for the development indicates the proposal is consistent with PUD 1915 Master Design Statement and the Master Development Plan. That's been seconded by Commissioner Noble. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, aye.
And that item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 9.
This is case CE 1142, application to close all of the platted public alleys in Block 3 of Trosper Park, Highland Edition, east of Highland Park Drive and south of East Grand Boulevard.
Good afternoon, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th. Here on behalf of the applicant, this is a closing application. Jared, if you go to the aerial, this has been contained within my client's site for many, many years. Whether or not it's ever been open to the public is probably debatable. So the closing of this will ultimately end in a vacation action. We don't believe it'll impact the public whatsoever. Happy to answer any questions. There are no TEs.
All right. Commissioner Privet, this is Ward 4.
Right. I'd love to give David crap about it, but this one seems pretty straightforward. I think, unless we got somebody signed up to speak, I'll move for approval.
I do not.
All right. Move to approve CE 1142 or recommend approval to City Council.
We have a motion to recommend approval to the City Council of the item by Commissioner Privet.
There we go.
That's been seconded by Commissioner Newman. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, aye.
Thank you.
All right. Brings us to item 10.
Item 10 is CPA 2025-04, consideration of a proposed map amendment to the comprehensive plan, moving the urban future land use topology area layer from the urban low base layer on 126 acres located south of Northwest 150th Street and west of North Sarah Road.
Vanity Mujica Ortiz for the Planning Department. This is CPA 2025-04. It's a request to lift the urban future from the urban low-intensity base. The associated zoning application is PUD 2068. It's located between 150 and Sarah Road. Right now, it's urban future, the LUDA in the area. In terms of land use, almost all of it is in developed land and is surrounded by some rural residential. In terms of zoning, almost all around it is either agricultural districts or some PUD for residential uses. In terms of city services, the water is available on site. City water is available on site. Sewer services are available on site. The southwestern part of the site is located with an urban response time for emergency services. Due to all the urban level services available on site, and some of the southwestern part of the site is located with the urban response time for emergency services, staff recommends approval of this CPA. I don't know if you have any questions.
I have a question. Have the factors that would have made it appropriate for urban future at the time that the comp plan was adopted, have they changed so much just during this period of time that it warrants this change? Or has the urban future designation kind of just lost its meaning at this point?
So Plan OKC policy, what established is that it has to have urban level services to become urban low. What we consider urban level services is city water available on site. It has to have sewer available on site. And it has to be, we sometimes take in consideration other things like environmental sensitive areas and things like that. This specific site, it does have all the urban services available. So that's why we consider the...
And it's just because that has changed so radically. I mean, it's been now 10 years since we adopted the comp plan. It's
Yes.
just that the pace of development has shifted it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main reason why we're actually in probably end of July, August, staff is going to recommend some of the urban future to be lifted. So we are looking into some of these urban future areas that the conditions have changed enough that we can consider them to become urban low.
And has the designation really served a purpose, or are these considerations just all market-driven?
When the Plan OKC was done, the urban future designation was considered where the city thought it was appropriate for to development to move towards. So as things change, then sometimes developers are faster than staff, and they request the changes. But sometimes, like I mentioned, the staff consider that it's changed enough, and that's why we recommend.
If you remember, just a couple weeks ago, we did another case with, without sewer and water, and so we get to think about whether we're going to change the comp plan. This area is developed with sewer and water all surrounding this, and that's why. I mean, it would probably make your list come July if it wasn't today being brought up
Yes.
for consideration.
Actually, as soon as we received the application, we noticed that is one of the areas we were taking in consideration.
So my question is not sort of as esoteric, I think, as it might seem. Having been around when we did the last comp plan, the idea of the reserves, future reserve, and future urban and employment and that sort of thing, they were intended to serve a purpose. And I think as we move forward, but at the same time, the comp plan was always intended to be a living document, one that would adapt over time. It was a recognition of how long it had been since we had done a major comp plan amendment or change that we were doing at that time. So as we're looking toward the future, I want us, as a commission and staff, of course, to give some real thought to whether these kinds of future, and I don't want to say restrictions, because I don't think that's really what they were intended to be, but designations serve a purpose, or whether these things are really driven almost entirely by market conditions. I don't think it's, I was very supportive of him at a time. I'm not saying I'm not supportive of him now. I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just saying I think we should think about it, because generally speaking, as Americans, I think we don't like the government telling us what to do if it's not serving some very real purpose. So I want us to give some thought to that moving forward.
And we kind of talked about it in the pre-meeting today too, but for me, a lot of it is the fact that the landowner owns the land that has the designation. And so, you know, to tell someone who owns property what they can and cannot do can be problematic. And the idea for water and sewer, if you don't have it, you won't get the densities that you might want.
But you have the option to bring it. And
Exactly.
so, yeah.
So you can make the change in order to make comp plan changes. And as a living document, you know, it will change. It's 10 years old from approval, 13 years old from its beginning stages.
Right,
So
right.
a lot changed in those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, I mean, yes, that's true. However, we have done several updates, and specifically like Maneri was talking about, like we update that kind of that interface between the rural, the urban future layer. So in this case, you know, they got there faster than we did. But I would say, so absolutely, so urban future was designed to say, yes, this should be urbanized at the appropriate time.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, the big three, you know, water, sewer, and fire. And as the commission is aware, you know, that's one of the reasons I highlighted that new station in the Northwest, because that has been a point of contention for years. Like, is it really ready to urbanize? Because it doesn't have a fire station. Well, now that hurdle's been cleared. You know, that doesn't mean, I mean, fire stations still have limited areas, but that helps. But like Commissioner Noble alluded to, a lot of that designation just is there to, like, the Planning Commission should really pause. And the example that he gave is like, okay, well, this was designated, this may be designated urban future. We've had a lot of cases come in over the years where they want to build rural, and that's really the policy decision, because if there's, you know, if there's a little bit of patience involved, there's a little bit of work with the developer next door, the property owner next door, it could develop as urban as indicated in the comp plan. And that judgment call in the comp plan is basically saying that would be the best, generally speaking. But yeah, thank you for the comment. I mean, we're always looking to improve the comp plan, and we've got updates coming, so it's good comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, this is my ward, but I can't make a motion, but I am in support of the item. So,
Anyone sign up to speak?
I do not have anyone sign up to speak.
Any commissioners have anything else on this? Nope. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve CPA 2025-04.
A motion to approve CPA 2025-04 from Commissioner Noble. That's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
That item is unanimous. Before we move to item 11, I know we have a lot of people out in the audience, and I only have a couple of speaker forms. So if there's an item that you want to be heard on later, and if you haven't done so already, please fill out one of these forms available outside and give them to Jared or Elena here below. Thank you. Item 11.
This is PUD 2068, application to rezone 15095 North Sarah Road from AA.
Hello, I'm Christian Hagan with 300 Point Parkway Boulevard, Yukon. I'm here representing the developer on this PUD, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have. We've reviewed the staff report, and we agree with all of the TEs, and we seek approval.
Can you walk us through the development a little bit about, there's 3 distinct tracks and the types of products that are being proposed for each track?
Absolutely. So the site is 126 acres approximately total, and it will be broken up into 3 separate tracks. Track 1 in the north will be a private gated development with 125 single-family lots Track 2 will be 2-family, and we'll have a crash gate to track 1 and 2 entrances onto track 3. And track 3 will be a single family with 40-foot by 110-foot lots, and there'll be approximately 379 of those lots. There'll be 72 duplex lots. I didn't mention that.
And on track 2, you mentioned a crash gate, so that's only to the north to the gated.
Correct.
Connectivity to the south will be just like any other street.
Yes, sir. And there'll be 2 entrances onto Sarah that right now I have them planned, 1 in track 2 and 1 in track 3, but those could be shifted around as necessary between those 2 tracks since they're interconnected fully.
All right. This is my ward. I don't have any real major concerns with this. I like the diversity of the housing type. Not in love with the 40-foot lots on the south tract, but I also understand that not everyone can afford a larger lot, a larger residents. So I think in the end, the diversity of housing types are a good thing. So any other comments or questions from commissioners?
I had just a minor one. This is item 11. We don't have any TEs. We then have item 12 with TEs. You mentioned TEs, but I just wanted to point that out if there was anything on item 11 we needed to address with regard to that, but I don't have any specific questions about the case.
All right. I do not have anyone signed up to speak.
I'd like to have a little quick discussion on what a fire department crash gate is, because I did the job for 29 years and I still don't understand what this refers to. So will it be actually gated street that has like a Knox box on it or something?
Yes, I believe that would be how it would be with a Knox box on it.
I don't know what that means.
Special lock.
A special lock that the fire fire department carries.
Like they have to stop and get out of their truck and go
Yeah,
open the
you don't
gate?
crash a fire truck.
It's
You
just
have to
called a
get
crash
out.
gate, but it's not
They call
really.
it a crash gate, but you're not supposed to crash. You get rode up for that. So it'll just be a public safety gate only is basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on anybody?
I don't think so.
No. So I just have a couple of questions too, and it goes to the density also, and the fact that you have 74 acres of the 40-foot lots. It just seems extreme to be that much out in that area. But the other one is on the one that you have private streets dedicated. You have 2 entrances out onto Sarah. Both of those are going to be gated.
Correct.
And queued. Because by the design, it just doesn't seem you could even fit that in there.
Can you repeat that one more time?
By what you have on our design, it just doesn't seem like you could even fit those 2 in there to have that much distance to queue into the neighborhood.
You're concerned of the setback off of
Which I know will all change
Sarah.
and have to meet certain standards. I just want to make sure that you are that these will be private streets and it will be gated.
Yes, it will be gated.
There will not be a crash gate and there will be connectivity.
No, there will be gates, and I believe that the north one will also be an emergency access gate, and the main larger south one will be the primary entrance for the residents.
That makes sense now, though.
Yeah, except for connectivity and access into the neighborhood, one access into that many lots.
And was the justification on that, though, that the northern tract 1 is senior
Correct,
living, or
yes.
is
They're
that-
going to market this for 55 and older. Tract 1, yes.
So, I mean, that offers me a little comfort in the fact that these aren't folks that are, I mean, some of them will be, but not every single household will be doing a 9 to 5 job, leaving at the same time every morning, returning home at the same time every afternoon, so.
Yep. Bus access, students,
Yeah.
all of that.
So,
Sorry, what kind of fence do we have shown for along Sarah on the arterial?
Fencing, don't look for the exact, it'll conform to city standards. I don't know if I have the exact material.
Guys, this is, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm big on this. This is a PUD. This is the time and place in which it's a give and it's a take. And this is a whole lot of houses, especially 40-foot lots on the south portion of this map, that every 40-foot lot would be responsible for their rotting stockade fence along Sarah Road. And if now's our chance to require a masonry wall to be put in by the developer, and that's, I believe, not a bad ask for this many lots and this type of these type of homes.
I think that's a reasonable request.
I think that's something they would consider for sure.
Okay. Commissioner Powers, do you have something to say?
It's nice, but writing it into the PUD would be better. Are you in a position to contact your client and find out whether they're agreeable?
Can you approve
What we're talking,
along Sarah Road?
Absolutely.
a masonry wall all the way down Sarah Road?
The discussion was.
If you could come to the mic, we just want to make sure that we capture.
Yeah, the
this one.
discussion was that, and we're going to put in the PUD, that we would do brick or stone columns every 25 feet with a cedar fence capped all along the same fence from north to south, all maintained by the homeowners association. It'll be uniform with nice decorative entrances beyond that.
Right. My concern specifically is the stockade portion, and we're asking that to be changed to full masonry, at least on the Sarah Road main thoroughfare, other than where you have gates.
Full masonry for a half mile?
Yes, sir.
I don't think we can agree to
Yeah,
that.
I mean, to his comment, if it's gonna, and we can put it in there, if it's gonna be cedar fencing with a cap maintained by the homeowners association, that's their responsibility to maintain it, that, I'm good with that.
Can we put the maintenance portion in?
Yeah, we would have to add that. What we're trying to keep from happening is every homeowner being
Trust me,
responsible.
I've seen enough subdivisions where that wasn't taken care of. It will be, and we can put it in the PUD, maintained, it'll be uniform and maintained by the homeowners association.
Yeah, it'll be on the plat too, probably.
So that'll be
It should be.
Flat note.
We can add that as a plat note also.
6-foot cedar capped.
Capped, with columns
50 foot.
every 25 feet.
25-foot columns. Maintenance by HOA.
Maintenance is usually on the plat, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I would accept that for screening, that's good.
Okay.
I don't know, it seems like we're giving them a whole lot of lots at 40 feet.
Definitely agree with that.
I agree with that as well. And
I think we did the math, it's about 56% of the whole subdivision is 40-foot lots. 20%, 19% was duplex, and then the rest was the other. I think it has to do a lot of it with the topography of the land and how you can separate it with creeks and everything else, but it is a lot of 40-foot lots.
It is, but if you also look, there's a lot of common area that, and this is an absolutely beautiful piece of property, there's a lot of common area that the people will be able to enjoy that will be maintained by the homeowners association. I mean, the trend is, people don't want to take care of their yards nowadays. They'd rather have a dog park, walking trails that's maintained by the homeowner association where they can leave their house and not have to worry about certain things, and leave for 2 weeks. But thought is, it is a little dense, but if you look at it overall, it's not any denser than any standard subdivision. We just have a lot of common area.
Yeah, I think it's 5.6 dwelling units per acre as far as the density overall, but in the overall look, when you have these houses with 10 feet between them and 40-foot lots, it's extremely dense in those areas.
I mean, I understand what you're saying too. I just, from a counterpoint being the conversation we had at a previous meeting about affordability and trends in housing, which resonates with me. I think it was Mr. McCowan that
Definitely market-driven.
gave a detailed analysis of that one, but so just keep that in mind too. I'm okay with the 40 foot personally, but
For me, the biggest issue with respect to 40-foot lots is about density. And as a commission, I think we need to, be cognizant of that issue of creating density further out versus in the core, et cetera. But here, the overall density is really not the issue. So I think I'm okay with this. It is a lot of 40-foot lots. It is a lot.
Okay. Well, I really like the addition of the TE that along Sarah will have a 6-foot cedar fence with a cap and masonry columns, 25 foot on center.
And I was just going to question, did we need the TE on this one or the next one anyways? But
I would say it need to be
on the PUD.
On the PUD, yeah.
then we got the preliminary
And then we
plat.
put it on as a plan note for the plat?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? No? With that, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval for PUD 2068 with TE number 1 being a 6-foot cedar fence capped with brick columns every 25 feet.
Along the entire
Along
boundary
the
of Sarah.
HOA.
Along the entire boundary, north-south on Sarah Road, and maintained by the HOA.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Noble to recommend the item to City Council per the TEs. We're waiting on our system. Can I go ahead and get a second by voice? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. And we'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Meek? Aye. Commissioner Privet?
Aye.
Commissioner Newman? Aye. Commissioner Govine?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Noble?
Aye.
And Commissioner Clare is an aye as well. I believe that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12.
Item 12 is case C-7740, preliminary plat of Chamonix. Not sophisticated enough to know how to pronounce that. Not sure what that is.
That's how it is.
Okay. And this is located south of Northwest 150th Street and west of North Sarah Road.
All right.
Once again, I'm just here to answer any further questions regarding the plat.
Are you in agreement with all the TEs?
We are in agreement with all of the TEs and seek approval.
Okay. And then we're going to add a TE that,
Looks like you got a maintenance note in there, Nate, on the plat already, so that may suffice.
okay.
That's pretty typical for HOA plats.
That includes the fence, though?
That's what, it would include anything that's built by the HOA normally.
We'll add it.
Yeah, I think just to be safe.
Benches, piers.
Anyone signed up on this?
I don't have anyone signed up to speak, so I think we just need to add that TE.
Yep. Anything else from any commissioners? No?
I can't be far away.
That, I'd like to make a motion to approve C-7740 with TEs 1 through 6 as written, with the addition of TE number 7 as a plan note to state that the perimeter fence will be maintained by the HOA.
On Sarah Road,
I think the whole thing.
the whole thing? Okay. The entire perimeter fence maintained by the HOA. Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Noble to approve the item. Our system is down, so I need a second by voice.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Powers. We'll voice vote. Commissioner Powers?
Aye.
Commissioner Meek? Aye. Commissioner Privet?
Aye.
Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Commissioner Govine?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Noble?
Aye.
Commissioner Clare is an aye as well. That item is approved. Thank you. Brings us to item 13.
Item 13 is CPA 2025-3, consideration of a proposed map amendment to the comprehensive plan, removing the employment land use layer on approximately 42.9 acres located north of West Hefner Road and west of North County Line Road.
Number 3. Vaneri Mujica Ortiz for the Planning Department. This is a request to remove the employment land, LUDA, from the urban low LUDA-based designation. The associated application is PUD 2069. It's located on the northwest quadrant of the city. In terms of the existing conditions, I want to clarify something here real quick. The pink polygon or square there is actually the proposed amendment. The blue ones is what we are recommended to expand in case that the recommendation is to approve the CPA. So you're going to see both in all the maps, but the original proposed amendment is only the pink area. So in terms of land use, almost all the area is undeveloped. In terms of zoning, it's agricultural, surrounded by residential. In terms of the LUDA, or the land use typology, is an employment area. To the west, we can see that there's more employment area too. To the north, we have that little stripe of employment area, and to the south, we can see urban low plus a little bit of employment area too. In terms of city services, as is common of these areas, city water is available, sewer is available, and of course, the fire services, emergency services are within urban response time. In this case, the subject site is an excellent site for employment uses due to its proximity to highways, other employment uses, and city infrastructure. Well-served and situated employment land sites are limited on the northwest area of the city, where sites suitable for residential uses are more plentiful. Preserving employment land to facilitate the creation of jobs remain critical to Oklahoma City's overall economic stability and future growth. Removing the EM designation on this site will reduce the amount of development-ready EM land available on the northwest quadrant of the city, lessening the city's ability to retain and attract large employers. Based on the finding above, the staff recommends denial. But in case the Planning Commission decides to remove the EM layer, then the staff recommends include those extra 11 acres just to maintain the same type of LUDA designation with the same site. I don't know if you have any questions.
Right. Any questions? This is Ward 1, so, and this is something that we've dealt with for a long time. It's a struggle because, here the comp plan has designated this as, employment reserve, but the employment centers aren't coming, but the housing developments are. And so how do we continue to put off much-needed residential for employment area. So I don't, it's a tough one.
It really is a tough one. You know, the idea behind the employment reserve areas initially was not just to allow specific employers, but to provide enough space for them, for there to be the employer, for there to be supporting some residential possibly, but supporting commercial and so on, and to leave enough room to make traffic circulation make sense. Because if you're talking about large employers, they need a lot of traffic circulation. You know, myself personally, I can't imagine why anybody would want to live next to a turnpike and a highway. You know, this close proximity, it's almost an ideal site for employment. But, you know, there's that big question. It's like we're not condemning this land. We're not, you know, acquiring it for future use. It belongs to somebody, and that somebody has a right to make, you know, some kind of economic use of it that makes sense. It is being used at the moment, but it's being used for, you know, agricultural purposes. And so it's hard to make an argument that that makes a lot of economic sense, frankly.
If I may, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th. It is my application. I don't know that I've ever agreed with Ms. Powers more than I do right now. The manner in which the city can reserve land is to go buy it. And in fact, we have two recent examples where the city has done that. The OKC 577 site that Mr. Tannenbaum is currently developing, and then the power center that's out west by Clarence Page Airport. That is how the city can reserve land and attract large-scale employers, not through a comprehensive plan designation. So we would add, well, if you, Jared, can you go back to keep going back, please. More. There we go. Oh, so this map is a little misleading in that it says the darker green is undeveloped, but you can see up north there are an ongoing neighborhood with single-family homes. Most of that was in the same designation that this is, and the Planning Commission each time sought to remove it to allow the urban low. So we're simply asking you to be consistent with the results that we've seen north of this site.
Yep. David, I don't want to push back on what you just said, but I will say that when the comp plan was made and the idea of and everything that Ms. Powers said about traffic and access, and this has been a great place for an employment layer. If it would have been followed through with, if it would have been started as an employment layer, it probably continued as an employment layer. It unfortunately was started as residential. It will continue as residential.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the give and take.
And to your point, you know, it sat vacant for a long time. The market is what really dictated that it not be large-scale employment users and instead single-family residential.
Yep.
Well, just to keep lightning from striking, I will say there's a lot of room between agricultural use and single-family residential. I mean, we're not denying this property owner the right to develop the property necessarily, but we are, by putting it in employment reserve, but we are, I think, needing to recognize that the likelihood of it developing for a large-scale employment pattern is diminishing as, you know, residential development grows up around it. It's just a reality of the situation. So.
Yeah, one of the things that we didn't see an exhibit on, but is in the comp plan is just the overall area employment overlay in this area, and so obviously it goes west, but it's also on the south, and then on the west side of the turnpike, there's another huge, significantly larger portion that's also designated too. So, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity out there for employment.
I had a
areas.
quick question about, just on the CPA that we're hearing, the applicants asked for the 31.95 acres, but then they've recommended denial, but if we approve it, they're asking to pick up another 11. Does that, just because the applicant representative didn't own, or the?
Yeah, so I
doesn't
can only
own that?
submit on behalf of what my
Okay,
client
so that's the
controls.
11-acre difference?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Okay.
No?
Nope, I think we're ready for a motion.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve CPA 2025-03.
With the addition of the 11 acres on the corner.
Right.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Noble. Our system is back up. Good job. Seconded by Commissioner Meek. He beat you online. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14.
This is case PUD 2069, application to rezone 9109 West Hefner Road from AA.
Once again, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th. So this is the corresponding application with the comp plan change you just saw. And so what we have proposed is a combination of townhome development along the frontage and multifamily along the back. We have limited the multifamily to approximately 20 units an acre. You can see that there's a significant blue line that goes through here that's been respected within this site plan. Staff does now recommend approval based upon your previous action with 1 TE asking to establish a maximum number of units or a density for Tract 1. We would propose a max density of Tract 1 of 8 dwelling units per acre. Happy to answer any questions.
This is Ward 1. I don't have anything to add. This is a product that's not out there. I think it makes a lot of sense in such proximity to the turnpike. So I'm in support of it. Anyone else have any questions?
Just one question on the facade, and that was it's a 60/40 product. Is
Yes.
that both tracks?
Yes, sir.
Consider on the townhomes, maybe 70/30? And it's just, again, more of a standard that we use.
Yeah, that's fine on Tract 1.
Anything else from anyone?
No?
And there's 1 TE, right?
Yeah, and that we would request that to be 8 dwelling units per acre, and then add the TE2
Okay,
for Tract 1.
good. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of PUD 2069 with TE1 and stating 8 dwelling units per acre, and T number 2 stating that Tract 1 would have a 70% brick and 30% other.
In the architectural facade regulations?
Well, and just real quick, the clerk's office has become very picky on the words used. You're not saying 70% other. What you're saying is the same wording that's in the PUD except for Tract 1, instead of 60, it's 70, and 40, it's 30.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't want to get pushback where I have to have
Yes.
30% other undefined.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Noble to recommend approval of the item, subject to the technical evaluations. It's been seconded by Commissioner Powers. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
Thank you.
And that is recommended for approval. Item 15.
Item 15 is case PC 10971, application to rezone 1238 Northwest 2nd Street from R3 and I1 to R3, just R3.
Hello, how's everyone doing today? My name is Abubakar Ahmed, and I am here representing Cooper Prairie Holding LLC. Legal description is Northwest 2nd and Douglas of all lots 18 through 23 in Block 10 of Concord and Parker, addition to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County. Application for rezoning from a mixture of R3 and I1 to all being R3.
Is there anything else you want us to know about what you?
They're just planning to build 4 new houses.
Okay. Commissioner Govine, this is Ward 6.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you say 4 new
Yes.
houses? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Just make sure. I thought I heard 40. Just for the record.
Yeah, 40.
No, I've reviewed this and been by the site. I mean, there's a sliver of R3, but primarily I1, but immediately to the east is more R3, so I think the straight zone R3 designation is okay in this case and fits within the block well. It's good to utilize the vacant lots and provide some infill housing there, so I'm in support. But is there any other questions or people signed up to speak?
I do not have anyone signed up to speak.
If there's no further questions, then I will move to recommend approval of item PC 10971.
We have a motion from Commissioner Govine to recommend approval. It's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that is recommended for approval.
Thank you,
and
guys.
good luck. 16.
Item 16 is case PC 10974, application to rezone 7025 Kleiner Avenue from R1 to R2.
Hi, I'm Richard Starks, P.O. Box 2618, Blanchard, Oklahoma. I'm representing Lyndon.
Lyndon Harden,
And you're at?
300 Carla Court, Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099.
And the basis for wanting the rezone was to build duplexes. I did not realize we stepped into an issue on septic and aerobic systems. With this, this is our original layout, and we were showing 4 units, 4 buildings with 2 units each, and I was laying out a conceptual aerobic system like spray field, and everything appeared to fit on there. There is the DEQ requirements that limit, if you're on municipal water, they limit you to ½ an acre per building. So we would violate that with this, but there is an exception in their code. It's subsection D, and it says for lots platted before 1974, that you just have to follow the rest of the rules, that the ½ acre and 3/4 requirements don't apply. So when I prepared this, I was running under that assumption that we could use that exemption. So that's the basis for this design. Last night, we submitted another one. Once I found out that we were gonna have an issue with this, I submitted one where we eliminated 2 of the buildings, so you'd have 2 duplexes, 2 buildings with 2 units each. So.
Commissioner Meek, this is your ward. You want to lead our discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I spoke with Mr. Stark yesterday, and the way I see it, the way that they're currently zoned right now, they could build 2 houses. Not duplexes, but 2 houses. And they wouldn't have to ask for anything except a building permit. But when you try to go into a rezoning process, you have to deal with a couple of council and commissions. And this commission, we have precedents that this is not meeting. And did you bring any of the new exhibits to pass out by any chance?
I just emailed them in yesterday.
So I got the email, and it has 2 duplexes, and it has 2 aerobic spray fields. And so on 1.29 acres, that would be what, 0.64 wouldn't be 3/4 that we've been following. It would be under 3/4 of an acre. But there's a whole nother issue that I got to get my, brain past, is that it's not just 2 houses. It's 4 homes. It's 4 kitchens. It's 4 laundry rooms. So I did do some digging today with DEQ and with several installers. And this is just for you guys to help me with this discussion. Can you put an aerobic system, one aerobic system on a duplex? And thanks to the applicant for sending the Linden's DEQ application. On that application, we got a little bit more information to where it said 3 bedrooms on one side, 2 bedrooms on the other. So that is DEQ's limit, is a 5-bedroom home for one aerobic system. If they would have done 3-bedroom and 3-bedroom, it would have been 4 aerobic systems on 1.29 acres, and we'd have been back to your original problem. Okay? So we've got that hurdle that with the soil profile test, the perk test and whatnot, and with them stating to DEQ that it's a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom duplex each, that there would only be 2 systems, then they're still under 3/4 of an acre, but they meet DEQ's requirements of a 1/2 acre or more. Do we have people signed up to speak?
I do have one person signed up to speak.
Okay. I would like to, before we continue and get into our discussion, I'd like to see who signed up to speak and what they have to say. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Mannix Barnes?
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today. I'm here representing 15 different families from this area of Wheatland, formerly Benton, Oklahoma. We've got several of our families out here in the back as well.
Before you get too far in, can I just have your name and address for the record, please?
Mannix Barnes, 6931 Morava Avenue.
Thank you.
I've been out here over 50 years, and several of our other neighbors here have as well. Third generation, second generation. Many of our families went to the old Benton School that's located on this property, still on this property. In fact, it should be a historical building. It's still got the playground equipment from when Benton had it as a school district. It was Western Heights' first school building. But, the problem that we have here that I think needs to be addressed is, unless you really know this area, we already have issues with our septic tank systems out here and the aerobic. Whether you put the aerobic in or not, several of us have, they still don't work out here because the lots are small. Everything is combined in this area. We have drainage ditches. We do not have curbs or anything. We've had problems with the city on cleaning out those ditches. Right now, we have homes that are flooding out there because of the water system. When that water comes in, it messes up the sewer system. The more we build, the worse it's going to get out there. And not only that, building duplexes to where you have people coming in and out all the time, you have people moving in and out all the time. That's not the reason that we moved out here 50 years ago. We were off of Northwest 10th and Council. That was a nice area at one time. And some of us came from the Northwest 10th and Rockwell. We always lived in the Western Heights School District. What killed that area was duplexes and apartment complexes. It's gone now. The crime rate is high. This was the only area, this was our utopia of where we were in the country, but we were located within the city. And I ask that you please consider that when you look at the vote, as though that you're the one who is living out here and have, basically, we have put so much money in our property and our family from one to the other, our grandchildren and stuff still live out in this area. We could live anywhere in Oklahoma, but we choose to live in Wheatland. And we want to maintain that because the owners now, they don't even live in this area. They live in another area. They live in Mustang. They have 10 acres or so by their home. You don't see them putting duplexes and apartments around their home. And that's what I ask is, if it's good enough to put it in our area, why aren't they doing it at their own house? And so I'm asking you today to please consider that, because the more you build out there, the worse it's going to get, because it already smells terrible out there. And we're not cleaning the ditches out. When it rains, it gets worse. So the more we put in there, especially with what Mr. Meeks said, the more residents that go in there, the worse it's going to get. And we've got farmers in this area that have livestock. They've got kids in this area. They raise their own chickens. Now, how do you think that's going to be when we're running sewer all over the area? And we already had the DEQ to move some people out that had trailers in that area. Luckily, the DEQ comes out and says, yeah, this area can't sustain that. You got to get it out of here. That's what we need, and we need your help on this. And I realize there's other areas that they can build that's more proper to where there's city sewer, but we do not have city sewer out there. Wish we did. We don't have it. And so I'm asking you today, please deny this application, and please think of yourself as being a resident of this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
I did have one more thing I wanted to speak to the applicant about. I thought about this long and hard, and this is for discussion between us commissioners, but I wanted you guys to hear this. So I know that staff recommended a straight rezoning. The problem with that is, even if we were thinking about approving this or voting on an approval, recently we've been putting that utility easement for the spray fields, because what happens without that is someone wants to put a portable building in their backyard, or an ADU, or a swimming pool. Well, now you were already under what we like to keep as a precedence, but the only way to keep people from shrinking that field of spray is by putting a utility easement on there. We just did it a couple meetings ago. With this being a straight rezoning request, it's a yes or no. We cannot try to put any guardrails on this application. And we'll discuss between us, but I'm at the point for a recommendation of a deferral to be changed to a SPUD, if you guys are okay with this application, to put some guardrails on it because of it's under the size that we've been approving. So with that, opinions, anybody?
Before y'all go in there, can I go that way? Can I do two things?
Yes.
We would be okay with the SPUD and, putting that strip of the easement, kind of that leave out area for the spray field. We would be totally, that would be totally acceptable to us. About 14 years ago, on the existing schoolhouse building, about 14 years ago, I was asked to go in and figure out how to remodel that thing and turn it into like a senior or community center, which is what one of the owners, the previous owner, wanted to do with it. And it was going to be really hard to make it ADA compliant, and it was basically a total gut at 14 years ago, and it's been sitting there vacant ever since. So it'd be really, really hard to restore that building, and we looked at that a long time ago. So just a little history there for that.
And I understand this was an annexed area of Oklahoma City. I understand there's kind of some gray areas out there. Does it meet the half-acre DEQ minimum? Yes, but it is duplexes. So once again, it's 4 homes, and we don't have any. We or nor any other governing body can keep track of or contain how many people live in a home like that. You could have 14 people living in one side of that duplex. Everybody taking showers, everybody washing clothes, and a sopping wet, flooded spray field. I mean, I don't know.
I was initially feeling like, well, our move to put more protections on septic systems is more critical on when they're proposing larger scale developments. And this being a very small development, I was mentally trying to get there before I hear that there's a pre-existing issue, that the neighbors in the neighborhood already have problems, and I don't feel comfortable making those problems worse, whether it's 2 private homes on R1 that are 2 big homes with septics or duplexes. I mean, that conversation, I understand that the duplex issue is a separate issue that I'm not really factoring here, as much as just the existing problems that concerns me.
And the existing zoning is R1, But,
So
but I'm with
they
you.
could build
This-
two homes,
right,
is the thing,
yeah.
so, you
And-
know,
and
but.
This is more, it's more infill because it's not a new development for large scale, like you said. It's filling up 2 lots where just cohesive neighborhood, there's 2 single-family homes right across the street from this single piece of property. So 2 single-family homes is kind of where I would be.
Okay. And it's industrial on the other side of it, you know, it's an industrial zoning on the other side, and like you said, it's R1, and so we could already build those structures there, so.
Right, and they could be 2 5-bedroom homes.
Yep.
But, like I said, they have 1 laundry room, 1 kitchen each. It's just.
Yeah, and they'd have to be DEQ permitted.
And they would still have to follow DEQ guidelines, yes.
So, in saying I agree with you, Commissioner, at a minimum, this needs to be a SPUD. And even then, there's still concerns to be addressed here with what's been raised today.
And that's right where I am too. I mean, at a bare minimum, it would need to be a SPUD, but I'm not sure that that would really get me there. Knowing that there are existing issues, it's just very problematic.
I would agree with that, pretty much everything that's been said. I mean, we've been down this road before, but, you know, I sympathize for you guys, but at the same point in time, I just don't want to create a worse situation. And we've come up with that kind of 3/4 acre minimum over time, and I just don't know that I can get past that 3/4 acre. I know this is more of an urban infill area, as we talked about, but again, I'd at least have to be at SPUD, and I really feel like this wants to be single-family homes and not duplexes.
Yeah, I'm normally at 2 acres on stuff like this, and to be down this low is not even, I can't comprehend it at this moment. You know, but that's where I am.
So it sounds to me like at a minimum, we want to see a SPUD, but we're not even sure that it can get there. So,
Probably better to defer to the next meeting and talk.
okay.
With staff.
So that would be July 24th? Is that correct? Okay. So you'd like a deferral to the July 24th meeting?
You want to do that? Okay, actually, I think we want to go ahead and just withdraw.
You want to withdraw the
Yeah,
application?
and thank y'all for your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And,
Thank you guys for understanding.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
it is a hot button issue, and we're here to
yeah.
try
and
to help.
I know y'all are in the middle of it. Once
Yes.
y'all get it sorted out, if you
Right.
can, put it in a code somewhere so
Right.
we can look at it and I can, before it gets here,
Right.
we can work it out.
Yes,
That would-
I
that would be
agree with
awesome.
that, yes.
Yeah.
And we're not here to cause any other further stress on the community at all. If
Right.
anything, we want to enhance the community.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And those lots have been platted since, it says Oklahoma Territory on the
Right.
plat. So they've been platted for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It's waiting,
Well,
waiting for something.
Yeah, I think it'd make 2 great homes. I know Mr. Yes, spoke to him. He did call me today through the city council person's office. They forwarded him to me, and they support 2 homes there. So I think you guys are making the right move.
Okay, well, we appreciate y'all's time.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Meek, just to cover our bases, we just need a motion to accept the withdrawal.
Okay, yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the withdrawal of PC 10974.
Okay. That's been seconded by,
Agreeing on all those. Yeah, I said we would agree.
that's been seconded by Commissioner Powers. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that is withdrawn. Thank you. Item 17.
This is PC 10975, application to rezone 15100 North County Line Road from AA to R1.
Good afternoon, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th. Here on behalf of the applicant. Jared, there's an exhibit I think you have. Our application is to rezone this site to R1. Brought this exhibit because there was a protest letter that came in. The engineer did go visit with them. I don't know if anyone's here, but what we seek is R1. It's important to note that everything to our east also zoned R1. You have a PUD that's up here to the north and east of us that's in a PUD, but allows for duplexes, patio homes, R1. To the west, you saw 2 applications here in the last few months to allow for 40-foot lots immediately to our west. And then to the south and west, you have PUD 1095 that allows for both R1 and R1ZL. Again, we're asking for R1. So with all that considered, we believe it to be compatible with the area surrounding zoning decisions that have been made recently. We'd ask for your approval.
This is Ward 1 again. I don't have anyone signed up to speak, so there's no one here that I'm aware of. I did read this, I think they read the same letter that you did, and I'm sure everyone got it, but just for the sake of summarizing it, a lot of the concerns were, they wanted to see new entrance exit ramps on the Kilpatrick Turnpike, which, just to be clear, we don't, that's the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and we have no control over what they do, as everyone is well aware. And then, they talked about additional signal and intersection improvements at Northwest 50th and Rockwell and Council, and then widening of roads. So, and I don't know, I didn't go back and double check, if any of those areas were included in the bond projects that we saw earlier today, but, as we know, these when you bring these new developments in, that's what drives those types of improvements. So I'm in support of the application. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I'm happy to hear any questions or comments from.
Did anyone sign up?
No, I don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Anything else from any commissioners? Straight zoning, R1, 6,000 square foot lots. Good. With that, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval of PC 10975.
A motion from Commissioner Noble to recommend approval. It's been seconded by Commissioner Newman. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
Thank you.
Item 18.
Item 18 is SP 599, application for a special permit to operate use unit 8250.7 emergency shelters and feeding sites in the I-2 district, located at 520 North Villa Avenue.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Freeman. I am the Chief Executive Officer for City Care. I've been with the agency for 9 years. My address is 536 West Hill. Sorry about that. Since 1996, City Care has been investing in neighbors who are experiencing and transitioning out of homelessness. We have invested in the West Lawn Gardens neighborhood since that time. Over those years, we've built 112 units of supportive housing. Additionally, we built a low barrier shelter, and we have purchased the building directly to the south of the low barrier shelter, and we're requesting a special permit to open a medical respite shelter, which is recuperative care for folks who are discharged out of the hospital and have nowhere else to go. I've got Ryan here from GSB, and he will be able to answer any questions about the building, and then I'll be able to answer any programmatic questions that you might have.
Good afternoon, Ryan Eshelman, GSB, 3555 Northwest 58th. As you can see, this parcel, this I-2 parcel is located just south of General Pershing on Villa. It's on the site of a former auto repair shop. If you advance to our, there, you can see the current facilities on the site, which will be removed for our renovation. You can also see City Care's facility immediately to the north and immediately to the east, as well as some existing office warehouse to the south. We've had the site surveyed. All the utilities are on site and located. Topography has all been established, so we're in the design process. The site itself has the building, which is 3 stories tall, located on the south property line, a little more than 10 feet off the property line, with parking to the north and a single driveway, with some buffer on the west side as well. The floor plan consists of medical respite guest rooms on the first and second floors, so 20 on each floor. Think of them like dormitory rooms. So folks have been discharged, but they need a place where they are out of the elements. Someone's monitoring that they're taking their medication. They may be having therapists come in some portion during the week to do some physical therapy of some sort. So there's shared restrooms, shared common lounge and dining space. Food will be brought over from the adjacent facility that the City Care operates. The controlled entry, so you have to check in and out. So there's not free movement. It's only the residents who are staying here who are allowed in and out. On the third floor is office space for the City Care organization. So they are consolidating all their office space onto the upper floor, which will be segregated and controlled access, and it's just standard office and meeting space up there for them. You can see this is a two-story rendition, which there is now a third floor. The funding was secured to expand from 20 to 40 beds, thankfully. So it will look just like this, except the back portion where you can see the guest rooms will be 3 stories tall. Brick and similar materials on the street frontage, and some brick wainscot and EIFS comp roof on the main body of the building. It's just an artist rendition of generally how the facility is going to look when we're completed. So we're happy to answer any questions about the building and the proposed site development, or questions about how this facility will operate.
Thank you. Commissioner Govine, this is your ward.
Thank you. Yes, well, I think it's important. I'm sure the other planning commissioners may have had a chance to read through the Exhibit C special permit application. So that's the program description, which I've read through, and I believe that they have a good plan in place, that the facility is operated, it's well managed, it's well run, it's staffed, it's complementary to services that they're already providing on this site. And so I'm in full support. I think they provide a much needed public health benefit, and I think this is an appropriate location for it. So I will turn it over to any further questions on.
Well, we do have someone signed up to speak.
Well, let's hear from them.
Okay. Mr. Jimmy Durant.
Good afternoon. Jimmy Durant, 8800 Sheringham Drive, Oklahoma City. I'm the Government Affairs Director for St. Anthony Hospital, and I'm here to speak in support of this. Numerous times I get a call from our staff saying, we have a patient that needs to be discharged, but we have nowhere to send them. They're homeless, they don't have care, they don't have relatives. So we at St. Anthony are wholeheartedly in support of this. We believe it's something that this city needs, and we would certainly appreciate your support for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durant. Any other comments, questions from commissioners?
I think this is such a plus. I'm not even mad that they've displaced the garage that I've used forever. It's good. Even just physically and aesthetically, it's going to be such an upgrade. But yes, this is something that we really need, and this is a good place for it. So I'm all in favor.
So, yeah.
Before you do anything or finish this, Dan, I just want to say just a couple of things, and I am in favor of the application. I think it is very needed. How it's going to operate is written very well. I just, for the public maybe, is the fact that if you drive up and down General Pershing, you will see a substantial number of tents and homeless people. I don't think this is adding to that in any way, shape, or form, and that is why I'm in agreement with this application. So that's really all I wanted to say. I didn't think this would add to the situation. I know that as far as some of the rules that we do follow and the idea that an inordinate number concentration of these types of units in any one area, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. This isn't the same thing as the night shelter. And so this isn't going to cause additional people to be out on the road.
Thank you for bringing that up. One important thing to note is that I think with recuperative care, you can find them all across the nation. There's 145 of them in 40 states. And the secret sauce really is the intensive housing navigation that happens the moment they walk in the door. So instead of being, SSM or another hospital system being forced with this moral dilemma of what do we do with this patient that doesn't have an address, they would come to us and they would continue to recuperate, and we would begin those housing navigation services immediately so that when they leave us, they're leaving to a permanent placement and it's not back into the homeless response system.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and move to recommend approval of, or is this are we approving a special permit? Does this go through council? Recommend. Move to recommend approval of SP 599.
All right. A motion from Commissioner Gavin to recommend approval. It's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that is unanimous. Thank you. All right, item 19.
Item 19 is case PUD 2074, application to rezone 11300 Southeast 89th Street from AA and AE2 to PUD 2074 and AE2.
Good afternoon, Mark Zitzel, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Jared, if you can go to our site plan. This is property that's all owned under a trust. There are 3 single-family houses that exist today. But with the agricultural zoning, it does not meet the minimum 5-acre lot size for it to be split. Because of the trust and the current state of it, the assets need to be divided to be passed on to heirs. And so we have filed this application to seek approval for the lot sizes as they are presented on the screen. So we're happy to answer any questions. We've had no protests, no calls. Staff recommends approval with no TEs.
Yeah, I'm curious how they got their building permits, but other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward and makes sense. The one lot's a little smaller than 2, but I can live with that with just 3 houses. So I'm good. We got anybody signed up to speak?
I do not have anyone signed up to speak.
All right. I'll go ahead and recommend approval of PUD 2074.
A motion from Commissioner Privet to recommend the item. Seconded by Commissioner Newman. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 20.
Would you like me to introduce it in the absence of
Well,
Mr. Butler?
I was going to introduce it. All right. Item 20 is PUD 2070, application by Vaughn Development LLC to rezone 2001 East Memorial Road from C3 Community Commercial District to PUD 2070 Planned Unit Development District. This is in Ward 7.
Mark Zitzel, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Jared, if you go to the site plan, this is an application for a 2-tract PUD, the hard corner being commercial, and then everything behind it is a townhome style development that's popular in this part of Oklahoma City / Edmond. And so the way we have it laid out here mirrors the PUD. Staff has recommended approval with 1 TE. That TE is actually already in the PUD, so whether it needs to be struck or agreed to, we're fine either way. But the PUD in Tract 1 outlines the bulk standards for the lot sizes, setbacks, and everything else. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. We've received no calls, no submitted protests, and I don't know that anyone's here.
I do not have anyone signed up to speak. So this is Ward 7. So Commissioner Harrison, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No additional conversation, just move approval for PUD 2070.
Anything from commissioners? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Harrison to recommend approval of PUD 2070.
Including TE1.
Subject to the technical evaluation. Oh. All right. It was moved by both Commissioner Harrison and Commissioner Power. Seconded by Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
All right. And that item is recommended
you.
for approval. Item 21.
Item 21 is PUD 2071, an application to rezone 3555 Northwest 58th Street from C3, O2, R1, and R4 to PUD 2071.
Once again, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th Street, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a unique application where we seek to take three existing office buildings that have been there for some time. They're pretty prominent along the Hefner Parkway, but the office market pretty much everywhere is in trouble, and the suburban office market is in real trouble. So this is an adaptive reuse of the buildings to convert them to a multifamily project. So we're excited about it. We think it's a great location. Obviously, everything going on Northwest Highway with the rapid transit with the bus, we think all of it is very positive. So there are three TEs, all of which we agree to.
All right. Commissioner Powers, this is Ward 2.
Well, this is really like one of the unique applications I've seen in my time on the Planning Commission. I think it's a great idea, and I think there probably are going to be more and more buildings in Oklahoma City that, you know, used to be offices that need to be housing. So I'm in favor of it as a concept. I am satisfied with the amount of green space that they were able to squeeze out of the State Historic Preservation Office. But I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Since it is, I'm reminded, entirely possible, even with historic designation, that the buildings would get torn down at some point in the future, I have a question about whether the facade regulations really, would they require SHPO approval, that specifically? We've listed some here, and I wonder if you include them, or if you ever decide to do them, will that also require approval by the State Historic Preservation Office?
If they're going to utilize the tax credits.
Okay.
I mean, anytime you're going to utilize those funds, it's going to require the approval of SHPO.
And that's a decision that's going to get made now, right? I mean,
I think they're pretty far
it's
down
part
the-
of the construction.
Correct. I mean, everything from approval of our site plan has been in concert with SHPO.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. See if I can read my own handwriting here, excuse me. The east boundary where we're talking about the screening regulations, what's on the east boundary that requires that screening? That does not require that screening, does require that screening. It says that site-proof screening shall not be required except along the east boundary. What's over there that has to be?
The highway and the access road. Presumably, it was just to, screen that from view.
Okay. So it's not that it's required, but something that they're choosing to do.
I don't know if that came about from staff or if that was self-imposed. I don't know.
It was self-imposed.
Self-imposed.
So the last TE says a specific plan will be required for any new development, and then it says not meeting the criteria above and goes on and on. I'd kind of like to put a period at the end of the word development, that a specific plan. If you're going to redevelop a property, I think it needs a specific plan. Can we agree to that?
Well,
I mean, if the buildings come down and you're going to put something else there someday.
if the buildings come down, I think that's the intent of the TE. But if it's consistent with our historic preservation tax incentive as approved through SHPO, we don't want to have to come here. So anything that isn't part of that, I think, was the purpose of the TE. Sarah, I maybe kind of
So
rely on you.
I want to be clear about that. I'm not willing to give them a blank check on any future development of the area without a specific plan.
What our TEs intended, both TEs 2 and 3, were intended to state that if they are going through SHPO and getting the historic preservation tax incentives, they do not need to come back to this body because SHPO will determine their design and everything. In any other case, they would have to come back for a specific plan.
And we're fine with that. Because that means we're doing something different than utilizing the historic structures.
In other words, even if they are converting these structures, if they are not using the SHPO process, they would come back to you, even if it's these buildings.
Okay.
Now I'm a little bit confused because SHPO will scrutinize 100% of their facades and their use of the interior historic fabric. They will review the site, but they don't dictate things like access and I mean, there's still a lot of variables that SHPO's not going to necessarily dictate one way or the other that would still be important to see connectivity in a specific plan,
Okay.
I believe.
Activity of what? I mean, what you see is what's going to be built, except for
Well-
we're adding green space and amenities. That is dictated by SHPO.
Part of the problem is I can't see it because I'm looking at a print that's like not even readable and halfway
I
blanked
don't know
out.
why the city gets you black and white.
It didn't
Jared,
print right,
Could you go to
sorry.
the site plan? You're
Maybe if
okay.
we see the real site.
We were hoping you had a
Yeah.
big-
I'm not sure that one's much better.
I like the green space. I just can't tell it from the concrete.
David, we would have liked a big board for you to hold up.
So I do agree, this is detailed, and could I really read this better?
PrimeGov and get to that exhibit? I mean, look how green it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So green.
Okay, this is actually much more helpful, thank you. We'll pass this around.
Like my 9-year-old got a hold of something on the screen.
And so basically it's saying, this is what's going through, working its way through the process of the tax credit review. As long as you're doing this, you
That's
guys
what has
don't want to
been
have to come back, because we're not going to then say, well, we want to change this and that, and then you have to go back through
Correct.
SHPO. I don't want to impose that on you either. I
We came with that once we got kind of like a preliminary blessing by SHPO of the site plan.
Yeah.
So is any of the access onto the arterials or onto the streets changing?
No, my understanding is
So, okay.
yeah.
But, I'm sorry, but to be clear, the pedestrian path that you're showing on your exhibit will occur.
We're committed to the site plan that's before you. Not before you on the screen, but before Commissioner Govain.
It's being passed that direction.
Okay, well, I'm not making a motion until I see it, so take your time.
I can tell a few jokes while it works its way around. I will say, Mark Zitza was very happy. He was worried that Henry Hudson's would go away, and if you go back to the site plan, you'll see that Henry Hudson's was carved out of this. So Mark can still have lunch there.
Nice.
Drink his lunch.
Yeah.
Got it.
Teenagers got to have a place to get their beer, you know?
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, as long as if it's not going through there and it's a different development, then the specific plantee kicks in.
Okay, are we good? Is there anybody here who wants to speak?
I do not have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anything that we can do to tie the site, basically tie that to that exhibit?
I think that's what yes, I think that's what the purpose of the TEs is. Which all, like I said, we
Are
agree
we
to all three.
comfortable with that, Sarah? Are they gonna, is this what we're gonna get?
Well, the only thing I could suggest then is TE2 could refer to that as an exhibit or whatever.
Okay.
I don't want to get into a question later about whether it's just conceptual.
Yeah.
Why don't we just add the words Exhibit C after Part 2 certification application dash Exhibit C for historic preservation tax incentives?
Okay, yes, could we, could we also say, or otherwise modified by SHPO? In case SHPO modifies that exhibit slightly as part of our required I just don't want it.
We don't need to add, we'll just keep Exhibit T2 as written.
Right.
Okay.
Are we done? I'm going to move approval, item number 21, PUD 2071, with the TEs. That's it, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Powers to recommend approval of the item. And seconded by Commissioner Govine. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Item 22 has been deferred. We'll go to item 23.
Item 23 is an application to rezone 6800 Miramar Boulevard from PUD 1962 to PUD 2075.
Once again, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th Street, here on behalf of the applicant. Before you is a PUD that seeks to modify slightly what was approved not too long ago to add some light industrial uses. There are 3 TEs, all of which we agree to. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Commissioner Harrison, this is Ward 7. You want to lead our discussion?
Actually, I'm going to pass it off. You all, other commissioners had worked on this a little bit, but the information I have thus far is everybody's in agreement at this point. Any commissioners have any questions or comments?
All right. Anything from other commissioners? Okay. I think we're just ready for a motion. You don't have the button? You can still make the motion via voice.
Without any additions, I move approval for PUD 2075.
Get that man a button.
We have a recommendation, or we have a motion from Commissioner Harrison to recommend the item for City Council, subject to the technical evaluations. It's been seconded by Commissioner Govine. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
Exhibits, no button.
All right. That item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Item 24.
Item 24 is SPUD 1730, an application to rezone 2509 North Walker Avenue from the NC Neighborhood Conservation and HL Historic Landmark Overlay Districts to SPUD 1730.
Andrew Haruz, 1219 Clausen Drive. As you all see, this has been approved by both, or a recommended approval by HP Commission, and the planning staff has recommended approval. The staff did find the SPUD's going to retain the requirements of the historic landmark overlay. It maintains the design review process and ensures no work will detract from the district's architectural character. What I have seen as far as, I think there was one protest, and we also had public comment at HP, was the intended use here. I think it's important for us to realize that this is just kind of a patchwork of zoning right now, and it's making redevelopment extremely difficult. Part of our existing zoning is commercial. There's also a SPUD that's allowing for parking, restaurants, bars. So some of the comments that we're seeing, the negative comments and concerns, we already have the possibility of doing this in this development. We're actually, with this SPUD, scaling back a lot of the uses that could be done, and we think that's going to be a benefit and really should be something that the protesters, if we can make that clear to them, should ease some of their concerns. Another comment that, just to get in front of, I know there was a comment regarding the height being higher than the intended or the designated, excuse me, yeah, we were going from 35 feet to 40 feet and 3 stories. I think it's also important for us to recognize that any new building or exterior change is going to have to go through HP. We're going to have to receive a certificate of appropriateness, and all of the compatibility of height, massing, and design will be reviewed at that stage. This is just simply allowing us to do it if HP would grant that ability. Lastly, I just want to...
Before you say anything, do you agree with that, Katie? that if we permit the height limitation to be 40 as opposed to 35, that is only if the HP Commission approves it?
Yes, in the sense that the overall design and compatibility still has to go through the design review process and be deemed appropriate and be approved by the commission. So just because they're allowed a numerical height doesn't mean they can build up to that height however they choose if the commission doesn't otherwise deem the overall design to be appropriate and in keeping with the guidelines.
Well, but that's not exactly the same thing. My concern is if we allow a particular height, this doesn't really have anything to do specifically with this, and send that off to another commission, in this case the HP Commission, that the argument would be made by any lawyer, I think. It's like, well, we've already got this part of this set. It was set when the PUD or SPUD was approved. And so, what it looks like, how it's shaped, what it will, that we can discuss at HP. But the height limitation is cast once it's been approved as part of the PUD or SPUD.
Yeah, I will.
And I'm just curious to get your view of that.
Yeah, so generally our interpretation when it comes to underlying zoning and design review on top of that underlying zoning is that the design review process and their regulations and guidelines supersede. So if the design review process is more restrictive than what an underlying base zone would allow, then that supersedes. And I'll defer to Municipal Councilor.
Yeah, me
if
too.
you
Wake
agree
up,
with
Stephen.
that interpretation. Sorry, Stephen.
I'm not Mr. Barker, but let me just real quick just say, in this SPUD, currently the way it reads is the maximum building height shall be 3 stories and 40 feet, subject to review of approval of certificate of appropriateness by the Historic Preservation Commission. I think we would have some conversation if it said the maximum building height shall be 3 stories and 40 feet, period.
Okay. So you think that the language that's built in here is sufficient?
I think that it will go back to HP. They cannot go over 40 feet, but it'll be subject to review and approval of a CA by the Historic Preservation Commission, the way that this is written, subject to the applicable guidelines and regulations.
Go ahead.
And then that built-in ceiling, floor, whatever you want to look at that, I think HP would be looking at the application based on, is it fitting the requirements as they're read? Does that make sense? That's what HP's threshold is going to be on. Is this requirement being met? Like, is it within that? Not, like, is that appropriate? Does that make sense?
Okay.
I don't know what
okay. Yeah, I think that I get that. I just want to be sure about this because anytime something comes to us and to another board, there's just that gap in there. I do not want, especially when it comes to HP, I do not want us to take action that limits their ability to make determinations on things like height, the bulk standards. This is a big deal to me. Yeah. Okay.
And that's not our intention.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. That's not our intention. That was the reason why we had drafted it the way that we did.
It's come up any number of times, so I'm not picking on you. Okay, go ahead.
Lastly is this balance between parking and our housing need. The SPUD establishes a parking requirement of 0.75 spaces per dwelling unit. There's no minimum for any of the non-residential units. We're trying to support, obviously this is a mostly empty lot to the north. And the ability to develop this is trying to accomplish and support the city's goals for increased housing in a walkable, transit-oriented neighborhood. It's also avoiding the overbuilding of parking lots. Again, that's something that we already have a use for and have tried to avoid doing ourselves here. We know that Oklahoma City is facing critical needs of diverse housing options, and we believe this development will start to solve for some of those.
Okay. I have some questions. One of the use units that's permitted under the SPUD is convenience sales and personal services.
Yes,
I would really like to see some limitation on the size of that use permitted. I, for instance, would not want this whole thing to be, convenience sales and personal services. So whether you do it by percentage of the overall or by square footage, I think we've done it both ways in the past. I think that the issues with respect to the housing are, a big part of what is recommending this to me. So I would like to see some limitation on that.
do you have a recommended limitation that you thought through that I can discuss with my clients?
No.
Okay.
I think your clients are in a better position to make that decision than I am.
Okay,
Do you need a minute?
if you don't mind, but I also want to make sure that I address all your questions.
Okay. I did have some concerns about the 3 stories initially, and won't say that I don't have any yet, but the fact that you're doing the 2 stories next to the existing residential on 25th, it is 25th, isn't it?
Yes.
Assuages some of my concern about that. I should start off by saying, when the zoning was granted for the properties to the south of 24th Street, a big part of my consideration of that zoning case, whether it should have been or not, was the fact that this piece of property was in sort of unified ownership, if you will. And so I knew that this development was coming. I've always known that it was. I think the fact that any of it is residential is kind of a pleasant surprise at this point, given the popularity of the 23rd Street redevelopment. It could have gone the other way. And I'm glad that it is, that the residential component is the primary part of it. So I think I'm okay with the 3 stories. The only thing about stories and height limitations are that pitch drift thing where whatever that number is, it's actually just an average of the height in the middle somewhere. And so the building itself could be a little taller than that. I don't like that idea, but it is what it is.
HP will pick it up.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. I have a lot of questions about the parking, but they're not really for you, I don't think. Our staff report says that on-street parking shall be included in all parking calculations, which, is that something different? Do we do that all the time? It seems odd to me. It's public parking. It's not in any way dedicated to the uses that are on this site. Anybody can park there, so.
Right, and that would not change. What they're saying is that they would be able to use those spaces to count towards their parking requirement.
But all they're guaranteeing is 0.7, so I mean, it's really, yeah. How many on-street parking places are there, do we know?
I don't have that number.
It looks like they're parallel, not angle in from.
From what's there now, that's right,
They're not
yes.
going to be that, huge of the number.
Well, and I think, because we had this discussion come up at HP, I believe, is it the south side of 24th? There's no parking.
Oh, yeah, because it's residential
I
across
believe is
from
what they had
commercial.
said. Or maybe it's 20, or it could be 25th.
I
It
hadn't
looks
thought
like on
about
the
that.
north side of 25th, there's,
And is there any
either way,
parallel
one of these
parking
streets,
along-
there's already no parking, so that's not counting
Walker?
towards any of our limit as well.
Okay.
What's your, is your light pink zones, is that?
Those will be the new properties, the new structures that are going to be, or proposed to be built, subject to HP.
Okay.
So then it says, required parking may be provided within common area, private driveway, private garage. So it's the common area part of it that's throwing me off. All of the parking is common area, isn't that correct, Sarah? I mean, all the parking's going to be common area. And that's all you're really saying, isn't it? Okay. And then it says off-site shared parking shall be permitted in order to comply with parking requirements, but goes on to say off-site parking is further limited to the boundaries of the SPD. And my question is, how is parking that's limited to the boundaries of the SPUD considered off-site? I don't get that.
I think, I think they're saying that the parking for a building on the north could be satisfied by parking within the SPUD boundary on the south. And then I do have more information also about the way our code reads for the on-street versus off-street parking. And there is an ability for, when we calculate parking requirements, it's typical, we're calculating the off-street, so on your private property requirement. They're built into our code when there are allowed decreases. One of them is to provide on-street parking. It's a 1-for-1 ratio as long as that parking space is within 200 feet of a building. And there has to be a pedestrian access from the parking to the building. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. I think that's really all I have. They're, again, not necessarily that specific to, I'm still not sure I understand about the off-site. I mean, if we're permitting X number of parking spaces per unit in an area this large, I mean, it's not going to be designated to be within so many feet of the building or whatever anyway, ever, would it be?
I'm trying to remember how that was drafted, but I think it's based on other issues that other people have had, whereas if one of those buildings, is owned by someone, it's its own separate parcel, and they go to pull a permit or make changes, then our permitting department's going to be looking for that parking to be located on that parcel.
I see.
And their SPUD is saying, as long as it's within the SPUD, they can count it.
Yes, that was what the intent was, is to say that you could have dwelling units on one parcel and their parking could be located on another parcel within the SPUD.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about SPUDs like a unified ownership, but okay. So the question was, how big is our personal and convenience store commercial going to be?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
We were talking initially about limiting the size of convenience sales and personal services.
What we would recommend or would request would be that personal services would just simply be limited to first floor and 24th and Walker facing only. We wouldn't do anything on 25th and nothing on any of the second or third stories.
I like that answer. Okay. Okay. Is there anybody here who wants to be heard?
I do not have anyone signed up to speak.
Do other commissioners have any questions, concerns, or comments? Okay, well then I'm sorry.
I'm glad to see something happening here. I'm glad you've teased out some good information too, Commissioner Powers.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend approval of item number 24, SPUD 1730, with the addition of a TE that limits the use, I'll have to read it. Convenience sales and personal services to the first floor only of those structures facing.
24th and Walker.
There you go. That's it.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Powers to recommend the item to City Council for approval, subject to the technical evaluation as read into the record. It's been seconded by Commissioner Govine. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
There's nobody that signed up to speak? I spoke to somebody
Thank
this
you.
morning on the phone. I thought he would be here.
No.
Okay.
That item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Okay, item 26. Oh, did I miss one?
25.
Sorry, item 25.
Item 25 is SPD 1739, an application to rezone 1701 South Mustang Road from PUD 1117 to SPUD 1739.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm here to rezone, going from C1 to a light industrial.
Okay, can I just have your name and address for
It's
the
William
record?
Jester, and it's 1417 East Angel Fire Terrace, Mustang, Oklahoma.
Okay. Is there anything specific you want to tell us about the application?
No.
Okay.
I'll take it.
All right, Commissioner Meek.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. I spoke to Mr. Jester, and I spoke to the several people that, believe it or not, they're in support of this. And I think, and I spoke to staff, one of the issues we had is that, to have a winery, it picks up this industrial requirement. And irregardless of the floor plan, what was decided was to rezone the entire lot, which is the entire building, but it is limited only to winery use. And the reason why that it was done that way was so that if another tenant moved out and the winery wanted to expand, there wouldn't have to be another rezoning. And so, did we have anyone signed up to speak with that?
I do not.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any questions on this? Okay. Well, with that, let me change my screen here. I'd like to move to recommend approval of SPUD 1739.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Meek to recommend the item to City Council for approval. It's been seconded by Commissioner Powers. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that is unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
All right, now we're going to do 26.
Item 26 is SPUD 1740, an application to rezone 2801 South Mustang Road from SPUD 1474 to SPUD 1740.
Good afternoon, Mark Zitzow, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Before you is an SPUD that has been approved multiple times. I handed out the wrong sheet. I apologize.
You just hang on to it?
This SPUD has been approved multiple times. There's a purchaser of the property that seeks to do a car wash and kind of oil change type business. And so it's a literal carbon copy of the prior SPUDs that have been approved. We've had no protest at any point for the 3 rezonings that have occurred here. And so staff recommended approval. There were no TEs after a conversation with Commissioner Meek. We have added a few TEs to further protect the neighborhood to the west. To his point and to his credit, there was not a neighborhood planned. It was agricultural land, and now, fast forward a couple of years, it's a duplex neighborhood that's coming. So we had no objection to the request, so they're outlined on that sheet. It's the addition of 4 TEs. TE1 for permitted uses, we're changing the descriptor at the end of it. We're striking the 150-foot requirement, and we've replaced that with TE4 to say no speaker boxes or call boxes shall be permitted, and we have an exclusion that does not include a touchscreen system for an automated car wash. So rather than have a limitation to say it can't be within 150 feet, we've just struck the opportunity for a call box. But that doesn't prevent a coffee shop with a pickup window from still existing, which is why we kept the uses. The addition of TE2 for landscaping, it's kind of an either-or option. Either a cap cedar fence with galvanized posts is required along the west property line, or a 10-foot landscape buffer with evergreen plantings on 20-foot center shall be required. And then TE3, we struck fence or. So this requires the dumpster enclosure to have a masonry facade on it. So with that, happy to answer any questions. I provided staff a copy of this just now, so they have it for their record and the minutes. But yeah, with that, happy to answer anything you got.
Commissioner Meek, I don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Okay. I want to say thanks to Mark for working this out. It was plus or minus 300 spuds ago, and things did change, and I appreciate the changes to the TEs. Any commissioners have any other discussion? If not, I would like to recommend approval of SPUD 1740 with the new 4 TEs as provided by Mr. Zitzow.
All right. We have a motion to recommend the item from Commissioner Meek, subject to technical evaluations. That's been seconded by Commissioner Noble. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 27.
Item 27 is SPUD 1735, an application to rezone 830 Northwest 66th Street from R1 to SPUD 1735.
Mark Zitzow, Johnson & Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. Before you is an SPUD in a part of town that has had this kind of push and pull tug of war between industrial and residential. So you'll see a lot of I-2. Immediately south of the subject site, you'll see SPUD 1488. That's an apartment complex. And then 2 streets north, there's a few million-dollar homes that have been built. So this area is kind of wrestling with itself, but when you really look at it, this property, if you draw a line north and south, and north of 64th, it's almost the division line between where we've seen industrial and where the residential has continued to thrive. So our client has sought an SPUD with a very restricted use category. It's to allow for an artist studio, gallery, and a living unit up above on the 2nd floor. So the SPUD is tailored to that. We've received no protests, there are no TEs, and staff recommends approval. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Powers?
Well, as Mr. Zitzo indicated, this is a very odd area that has kind of gone hard one way and then another during my time on the Planning Commission. But I think that this is a perfectly appropriate use, no matter how you look at it, and I'm in favor of it. If there's not anybody signed up to speak, I'll make a motion to approve. No?
No.
So I'll make a motion to approve item number 27, SPUD 1735.
I have a motion from Commissioner Powers to recommend approval.
With the TEs?
There are no
There are no
TEs.
TEs.
Oh, this is the one for the last one? Okay.
And maybe one coming up.
No, it's coming up.
Oh, okay, sorry, okay. Okay, no TEs, we're good.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
What? Sorry.
And that item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Item 28 has been deferred, as has 29. So we are at item
Oh, it's on the
30.
back. There it is, okay.
Okay, item 30 is SPUD 1734, an application to rezone 1300 Northwest 22nd Street from R1 and the UC Urban Conservation District to SPUD 1734 with the UC Urban Conservation District.
Fallon Brooks Magnus, 733 Northwest 22nd Street, representing the applicant. We're cool with all of the technical evaluations except the wording in one of them. Number 4 says add to architecture that the regulations of the Gatewood UCD apply. There's no specific architecture regulation within the Gatewood UCD, and we just want to make sure that doesn't marry us to something that doesn't exist or is open to some kind of interpretation. So we would like it to specifically say that we are to adhere to the roof standard that's in that development standard for the Gatewood UCD, because it's really the only thing applicable in the staff report. And then the screening requirements, there's no height listed anywhere for those requirements. I didn't know if we needed to specify that also within that TE. Those are my only 2 things.
I was hoping you were going to tell us a little bit about the project, because I think it's a really good project.
I'll
in the
tell you a little bit
neighborhood,
about it. It's
but,
actually pretty cool.
Anyways, yeah, sometimes, I know this is a long agenda and everyone.
Yeah.
Not everyone may have seen the images. That's part of the
Oh, yeah, if you go-
presentation. I wouldn't mind showing that. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. So
Yeah.
everyone has an idea of
So
what we're.
I'm kind of sad Katie's not in here to see this, because we really specifically, it's not in this render, but next door is a really cool little craftsman house that was built in the early 1900s. And then opposite corner from this is one of Sam Gresham's developments with very craftsman-looking buildings. And so this kind of blends into all of that, gives it a historic look, but also, gives us a little more density. Very close to the university and right behind Walgreens. So I'll get to see it all the time.
Thank you. Well, I'll jump in here, I think. No, I think this is a fitting proposal for Gatewood community. Again, it's at that transition kind of boundary from hitting the Walgreens, catty corner to the backside of Walgreens, but fits in well with the style architecturally of the neighborhood and even the typology of the house. Although it is a duplex in front, the garage apartments is I see that same garage apartment built originally in the neighborhood in the 1920s. So I think it's great, and you've hit the setbacks off the sidewalk for driveway parking. So anyways, any other questions from others here? We'll come back to your TEs.
Okay, I think we're going to do that.
That's where I was. If anyone else wanted to jump in, I just wanted to offer that. And then just to understand the TEs. So I had some notes, but generally it was all okay. You've mentioned it is 3 dwelling units total. So I don't think I have any issue with this modifying number 4. I don't really understand the urgency of that. If it's roof regulations, it's still covered under regulations general in my mind.
That's fair. I wasn't sure if because it says these regulations, if it was superseding something we might already have. I was just concerned about interpretation more than anything, because really the only thing it's calling out specifically is the roof pitch, and so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't marrying me to something else.
I think the intention, was to make sure that it was historic and it looked like everything else in the neighborhood, but,
Is there, I guess, Sarah, would there be anything else that you're aware of that came up through the review? I mean, I'm okay just making it roof regulations, but
Sure, well, okay.
I was trying to find the height here too. It's not specifically listed, but it would fit, it would be 35 feet, 2.5 stories, right? Because that's.
Sorry, I think our intent there is that the way that the SPUD was drafted is it has the standard 70% language. And we were just asking that it would just meet the base requirements and the Gatewood UC. But Fallon is correct. The number one thing in the Gatewood district that's different than most districts is a requirement for a 10% roof pitch.
that makes it look like an older house, I think.
Okay. Well, I think I'll go ahead and try to make a motion here then. And, having met with Fallon, I mean, this is what is proposed to be built there. I mean, so I feel, at
We're
least from our last
the construction documents are done. We're ready to go.
Yeah, so this isn't a sort of
This is what we intend to build, so.
Right.
Commissioner Govine, also, on number 6, the reason that is in there regarding screening regulations is only because that section has something I think that's not relevant to this, so it might have been from a previous SPUD. So we were just trying to correct it to what it should have been.
I'm notorious for that, so that makes sense. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't like a height needed to be called out or something, so I'm cool with it.
I will move to recommend approval of SPUD 1734, including the 6 TEs as written with modifications to TE number 4 to add, basically insert the word roof prior to regulations. Add to architecture that the roof regulations of the Gatewood UCD will apply.
All right. We have a motion from Commissioner Govine to recommend approval of the items to City Council subject to the amended technical evaluations. And seconded by Commissioner Powers. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
That item is recommended for approval. Thank you. Item 31.
Item 31 is SPUD 1738, an application to rezone 1801 Northwest 14th Street from SPUD 1625 to SPUD 1738.
Mark Zitzel, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. You now have the paper in front of you for TEs that we're going to work in on this one.
There it is.
You can go to the site plan. This is also an SPUD that has been rezoned maybe, this is the 4th time? Different owners, different projects. But this is very similar to the last spud in that it was done for mixed use, live over, commercial and residential. So this one is seeking to essentially add a unit. And so staff had 6 TEs, but we're going to add some that coincide. So the sheet that I gave you and also provided to staff, TE1, we want to remove the uses 8300.5, 8300.8, 8300.11, 8250.11, 8250.14. TE2 we agree to. TE3 we agree to, and per staff's direction, we've modified it to limit it to 600 square feet per unit, which is per commercial space on the ground floor. TE4, 5, and 6 we agree to. That's a typo on that sheet, I apologize. And then TE7, we're going to add a regulation saying that pervious paving shall be required for the parking area accessed by and fronting Northwest 14th Street. So with that, happy to walk back through those if there's any questions, but that's where we're at.
All right. Commissioner Govine, I do not have anyone signed up to speak for this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zitzow. That's what we talked about, and I appreciate you putting in the time and effort to put that on paper. That's where I got to. I had some concerns on this one, particularly, that have really been addressed, and I'm in support. The parking on the 14th Street corner was a concern to me, but I think with the ground floor commercial component or live work, I should say, that I can, and the introducing pervious paving in that area, I can get behind it. But I'm speaking for myself alone, so I'll see if anyone else has any comments or questions.
I think there have been examples previously. The pervious paving language and regulations came about thanks to Ms. Welch and Kelly Driscoll. They drafted language that required a concrete apron around it, certain subgrade, and other things to make sure it all stays in place. But I think there have been a couple other random cases. Parking's been in front yards or it's adjacent to floodplains where pervious paving's been required.
I know we're not at the, we're not requiring specific types of pervious paving. I would encourage a portion of that, or, I see your team is here, but the more of that could be gridded pavers that actually lets grass grow through so it looks green would be great. Now, I know that isn't really compatible with the ADA parking space, but just thoughts that it would be, I just don't want to see too much hardscape, and we want to green it up. It's a corner. You guys want your development to look nice, so I don't. Like I said, I think it's a good proposal. It's just across the street and one half a block to the north is a larger multifamily apartment building that's under construction, nearly complete. So I think this is consistent.
Okay. Anything else from commissioners? Sounds like we're ready for a motion.
Okay. Let's do this then. Move to recommend approval of SPUD 1738, including the 7 TEs as submitted today by the applicant, with one amendment that TE6 is agreed as written in the MDS or the staff report.
Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Govine to recommend the item for approval of City Council subject to the submitted technical evaluations. That's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
And that item is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
We come to our last item for individual consideration, item 32.
Item 32 is SPUD 1685, an application to rezone 3104 Northeast 82nd Street from PUD 771 C4 and AA to SPUD 1685.
Mark Sitzel, Winnie Sheridan Avenue. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica here to walk through it. I did just want to note a thank you to Commissioner Clare and Commissioner Harrison. This has been a challenging project. This has been going on for quite some time. We got involved midway, but thank you to you both for attending the numerous neighborhood meetings, and kudos to Jessica Bloy for this room not being filled with the protesters. So I think we got to a good point, but I'm going to let Jessica walk you through it all.
Hello, Jessica Bloy with Johnson Associates representing the applicant, Winnie Sheridan. So you have seen this application multiple times. It is coming back before you today following several neighborhood meetings. And we have reworked the SPUD and the site plan to have a different concept, so there are no open materials within this proposed SPUD. We have included access controls, signage, and then we do have a turnaround for emergency vehicles. So I'm going to keep this quick since it's your last item. Staff has recommended approval, but there are 7 TEs. And we can agree to TEs 2, 3, and 7. We cannot agree to TEs 1, 4, 5, and 6. We do not agree to TE 1 because we would like to be able to create that gravel parking lot and do vehicle parking and equipment storage. That was the whole purpose of the SPUD. So that TE would require one of those future buildings to be constructed to be ancillary to that. So we do not agree. And then TEs 4, 5, and 6, we specifically negotiated with the neighbors on access controls. That was a very big issue for them, and the language that was added in was paramount to them rescinding their protest letters. So we do ask that that language remains and that those access control barriers remain on the exhibit. We did add a sentence into the SPUD under the access section that does note that this is a private street and it is not under the purview of Oklahoma City. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'll lead because with Commissioner Pennington's departure, this case was ongoing and didn't have any representation from the commission as they went through some of these meetings. So I did listen in and just want to commend Jessica and Mark for the meetings and the tact and the professionalism in working through this. It was very challenging. But in the end, I think we've arrived at, something that everyone is happy with, and it's a testament to them and the process that, there were withdrawals of objection. So I think this is defines the process is to work through with the neighbors and make this the best thing it can possibly be, best application it can possibly be. So anything to add, Commissioner Harrison?
No, not currently. I'm coming in as late as I was, so it was a pretty smooth process for me. I just got to ride along. You guys.
All the hard stuff was figured out by then,
That's
right? So, okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. So are there any other questions, comments from commissioners? Looks like we're ready for a motion.
Seeing nothing else, I move that we approve SPUD 1685.
Subject to accepting or deleting TEs 1, 4, and 5, and accepting 2, 3, and
6.
7. Oh, and 6.
Yes.
Yeah, and 6. Accepting 2, 3, and 7. Great. That's been seconded. We have a motion from Commissioner Harrison. It's been seconded by Commissioner Noble. Please cast your votes.
Harrison, yes.
Privet, yes, mine logged out on me.
Did you log out already?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Accident.
I said last item and you logged out, huh?
Accidentally hit the X.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is additional items, communications and reports, planning commission committees. Are there any committee reports? No? Planning commission members?
No.
Nothing from Commissioner Powers? Nothing from Commissioner Meek?
Me.
No. Commissioner Govine?
I was going to send an email on this, but since we're sitting here, I'll mention it now, is I have learned I'm going to be absent from the July 24th Planning Commission meeting. So I just wanted to make note of that for staff. I know we talked about a case that I was involved in, rescheduling to the 24th. I think it was item 29. So I may need to touch base with that applicant or figure out if they want to move it later or not. So anyways. Yeah, yeah, please. Try not to.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for the heads up. Commissioner Harrison or Commissioner Noble? Nothing? All right. Planning Department? Nothing. Municipal Counselor's Office? Nothing. Citizens to be heard? We do have one. Mr. Waters, I appreciate your patience.
Joshua Waters, 11201 Northwest Expressway, Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099. The subject today is a formal objection to case number C-7736. I have an urgent request to preserve critical wildlife habitat and natural corridor, opposition to development, and insufficient notification. Dear Commissioners, I am writing to formally object not just to the design, but to the entire proposed development of case number C-7736. My family owns the property directly to the west of the proposed project site located at 11201 Northwest Expressway, and we are strongly opposed to this development moving forward in any form. The area marked for development contains a vital stretch of forest and natural vegetation that serves as a rich and active wildlife corridor, one that supports a diverse and thriving population of native species. This land is home to owls, deer, cranes, roadrunners, cardinals, among many other bird species, beavers, lizards, salamanders, and even bobcats. I have personally documented many of these animals with photos and videos over the years. If this proposed neighborhood is approved in its current form, the development will result in the total destruction of this living habitat, not a partial loss, but a complete erasure of an ecosystem that has existed for generations. The plans show no meaningful green space, no wildlife corridors, and no tree preservation buffers. This is not planning, it is displacement. These animals do not have a voice in these proceedings, but I do, and I intend to stand up for them. We are tired of seeing Oklahoma's natural beauty and farmland erased for yet another high-density crackerbox neighborhood. These projects replace old-growth trees, fertile soils, and ecological sanctuaries with endless rows of cheaply built homes that contribute to overcrowding, traffic, environmental degradation, and long-term infrastructure strain. What is proposed is not progress, it is erasure. The tract in question is home to a thriving and irreplaceable ecosystem. Beyond the large species we've observed firsthand, this land likely supports hundreds of thousands, if not millions of insects, pollinators, amphibians, and small mammals, all of whom would be displaced or destroyed by this project. We have lived on our land for nearly 2 decades. We are not recent arrivals, and yet the only notification we received about this project was a generic letter in the mail buried among the flood of routine advertisements and spam most families receive daily. It was no better than a lost email in a junk folder. That is not a fair or reasonable way to notify those most directly affected by a development of this magnitude. We firmly believe adjacent landowners should have been approached in person out of basic respect and transparency. What's additionally alarming is the loss of every natural buffer that currently shields our land from noise, dust, visual pollution, and extreme temperatures. The forest strip being targeted is not just a scenic backdrop. It is a crucial environmental, acoustic, and thermal buffer for our property. Its removal will expose our land to direct development impact, degrading our peace, privacy, and microclimate stability. The deforestation will also severely disrupt the hydrology of our land, eliminating the natural barriers that currently control surface runoff, manage water absorption, and protect against flooding. The forest helps absorb stormwater, stabilize the soil, and recharge the local groundwater table. Once removed, water will no longer filter gradually, but will flow unimpeded onto our property increasing erosion risks and long-term damage. This destruction is not just unnecessary, it is irresponsible, especially when alternate designs could easily preserve the tree line and reduce ecological and neighboring impact. The removal of this buffer zone will not only eliminate wildlife habitat, but also rob my family of the land of the very protections that have made it livable and ecologically stable for decades. Our land, our forest, and the wildlife we share with it matter. We are not interested in compromising landscaping or decorative tree plantings. We are not interested in another artificial community slapped over once living land. We are entirely opposed to this case, and we ask that you reject it outright. If development is ever to happen on this land, it must be done with a deep respect for its natural integrity, with active community involvement, and with a plan that leaves the native habitat untouched. That is not what's being proposed. On behalf of my family and all life that calls this place home, I respectfully ask you to do what is right and stop this project before it begins. I want to be crystal clear, respectfully, of course. I will continue to fight this. If this development moves forward, I will explore every avenue, legal, environmental, civic, public, etc., to challenge it. I will stand for this land, for its wildlife, and for the future of Oklahoma's natural spaces.
All right, Mr. Waters, your time has expired, but I can
I hear you, and I'm in my last 3 sentences.
Okay, I'll let you finish, and then I can respond to it.
I know it's a lot to take in.
Please continue.
I hear you. I will bring our case to the local community, to the media, to the conservation organizations. I will gather signatures. I will attend every meeting. I will document every threatened species. This land is not just dirt and timber. It's a home. It's a habitat. It deserves protection, not profit-driven destruction. Thank you for your time, consideration, and commitment to making thoughtful decisions that protect the long-term environmental and community well-being of our city.
All right, thank you. So this is my ward. This is an item that we heard back in May. So it was recommended for approval. It goes forward to City Council, we believe sometime in July. The zoning does. So you have an opportunity to speak and be heard at City Council when this item is heard. I heard the notice requirement. We've heard that several times, that there's opportunities for us to improve the notice requirement. That is a state level statute. So there are challenges there to get that improved, but we understand that it needs to be improved. But the biggest thing for you is there's still an opportunity to talk to your councilman, Commissioner Carter, Councilman Carter. And he will be more than happy to visit with you about that as it goes before him and City Council here in July.
Okay, and so do you all remember this from May 22nd? And do you all remember seeing the forest that I'm talking about?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, for this body, it was the preliminary plat of Solstice, right? And
That's
it had
correct.
a companion zoning case to request to zone this to R1, I believe, R1.
Straight R1.
And so it's been introduced at City Council, the zoning has, and the final hearing will be July 1st on the zoning item. This body approves the subdivision, the platting, and they already did recommend, or I guess approve, the preliminary plat for Solstice. The notice for plats goes out to everybody within 100 feet, and then it keeps going out in increments until there's at least 10 people. We checked, there were 15 people on the notice list. The next action this body will take will be when the developer comes in with a final plat. And that notice will go out again, and then that's the next action this body will take.
So and those notices are mailed. That's the only mechanism that we have right now. So you need to keep an eye open for those.
I understand. My family gets mail in different locations, and so sometimes, but it's difficult to keep track of that stuff. But we are the only neighbor to this entire development. We live on 7 acres. We came out here to live in the country. The city is slowly making its way there, and so I talked to civil and environmental consultants. I wanted to just come here and speak because I missed the opportunity May 22nd. Not upset with anyone at all. I'm just here to voice my opinion. get it in the public record. They mentioned that they were going to keep the trees, but what I see is complete destruction of that. So I appreciate your time. I know it's been a long time. I got here at 12:30, so this was very important to me.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come see us.
And I would like to, I wasn't able to find anyone's emails on the commission, so you mentioned like a July 1st, a July 7th, I heard a councilman's name. I just want to make sure I leave here with the correct information.
Certainly. As it is my ward, if you just want to sit tight, we'll wrap up, and I'm happy to provide any
Sounds good.
information to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Other business, we have one remaining item, that is election of planning commission officers.
I want to recommend Don Noble as our next president,
Next president?
our next chairman, sorry.
All right.
Yeah, and before we do that, Nate and I have had a conversation already, and so in light of that conversation, I respectfully decline that and would like to nominate Nate Claire as the chair.
I'm all in favor of that. I didn't know that was
How's
an
your
option.
address thing working out and your term limit?
So I am very humbled to be able to continue to serve for as long as possible as chair. So if you'll have me, so.
We'll have you.
So
I'll take
Favor of
vice.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I did not know that was an
We
option.
didn't, yeah, we thought we were, kind of had to get kicked out of here before you get a new address.
Nope.
All right.
So I nominate Nate Claire.
Oh, thank you.
Second.
All right.
And will you continue to serve as vice chair? Okay. Then I nominate Don Noble as vice chair.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And did we officially capture mine too?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, we were good, says the counselor. So, all right. Anything else? All right, thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.